too familiar with pride. I've been on my knees 6 but gotten up 7 times. It was never even a question of is it gonna be mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. I've been watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, the tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something's standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit.
Take me, the highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
The deepest waters won't take me. The highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
I'm taking it to the sky. I'm never taking a break, I'm only taking what's mine. You say it's taking too long, I'm taking that as a sign. It's not a matter of faith, just a matter of time. Never look back, if something's standing in my way, I always push back. When something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever.
The deepest waters won't take me. The highest fall won't break me. Blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
The deepest waters won't take me. The highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time. I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
So come and get it.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we recap eNASCAR's first ever international race at Monza. We talk to the drivers of Front Row Motorsports, and we take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway, and joining me, as always, we have Blake McCandless and Alan Cavana. How are you two doing?
I'm doing great, Camille. It is a great Tuesday night to be back. We only had a couple of days off after our last race at Monza, but at this point in the season, we're 6 races in. Talladega looms as such a huge opportunity for someone to change their season, Alan.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I can't wait for a race like Talladega. Only one racing series in the world can go from Monza to Talladega in a matter of 7 days, and it's this one tonight here in the Coke Series. I can't wait for this race because, like you said, it is an opportunity for someone to punch that playoff ticket.
And I know the three of us are feeling really fueled today thanks to our friends at Wendy's. We all got to enjoy the biggie bag, and I'm telling you, this food hits every time. Get your choice of select sandwiches plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small Coca-Cola drink with the biggie bag. And on April 18th, 22nd, and 23rd, DoorDash will give you $5 off your $20 order when you order any Wendy's biggie bag. You want the surest of the surest bets? Well, bet on the biggie bag. And there you go. You're sipping on it. I already finished mine.
That's too bad.
Yeah, too bad. We got a long night ahead of us at Talladega. But no, thanks to Wendy's. Big shout out to them. It was a delicious meal tonight.
Very delicious. But you know what also was great, at least for me, and we'll talk about this later in the show for points, Monza was really great. So let's take a look back at what happened at Monza.
Bobby Zelensky and Keegan Leahy. For the first time in eNASCAR history, we say, let's go racing at Monza. Could have been a lot worse still in this thing. Not a ton of damage on the 95. Also, though, again, not a ton of time in this race to make up for a mistake like that. It's Michael Conti going to be coming down pit road. The 8 car was scored in 17th position. Tucker Minter down to pit road. He's going to bring the 48 car with as well. That's Graham Bolin, Jordy Lopez Jr., Parker White, Garrett Maines, and more. Here comes your race leader. Bobby Zelensky has been in control. He is down pit road. Leahy will follow from second position. Kerwin's going to follow from third. I expect Alt to come in as well. Yes, he will. So those top 4 are in. Now it comes down to not making any easy mistakes. We saw it going off into the final corner there. He was squeezed on the inside of the 2 of Corey Vincent, and a little bit of a touch sent the 34 Ford around. White flag in the air up front, though, for Bobby Zelensky. He's found success at many of the road courses on the calendar with wins at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Roval, the Daytona Road Course in Sonoma, but he is going to add Monza to that list. Final time as Zelensky races through the Parabolica, and in eNASCAR's international debut, Bobby Zelensky wins at Monza.
And what a win it was for Bobby Zelensky. As you can see, he now has 2 consecutive wins, puts himself right at the top of the drivers' standings, and that win list is starting to fill out. 4 winners now. You can see Steven Wilson is back in the top 20 in points, so his win makes him playoff eligible. Casey Kerwin, the last of those drivers that are in the playoffs at the moment. But, of course, Dylan Alt, he's moved up into the top 15 after a recent surge, and, of course, you could see, as we mentioned, Corey Vincent and Ryan Doucette, teammates, Alan, they are tied for that 18th spot.
Speaking of teammates, let's go to the team standings where we have a new team on top. Team Dillon Esports +2 after the Monza race. They are now leading the field. Remember, this is the big deal of the teams too, to make sure you get all the points you can. And then look down there in 8th. What will 2 wins do for you? It'll shoot you up the standings if you are Joe Gibbs Racing. Bobby Z carrying the team right now, but whatever it takes, they're 5th in the standings. Big, a lot on the line there for the team stand and championship.
There's a lot of great things that happened in Monza, but you got to give me the lowdown, Blake, because I'm obviously really happy that Bobby Z took it. What were your thoughts coming out of the race?
The one thing I thought, of course, Bobby Z winning is a big part of the week, but I want to see more of these types of tracks on the schedule in this series. I think one of the great things about iRacing, about sim racing, is we have the capability to go places we otherwise typically wouldn't see. So going to a Road Atlanta or a South Boston, or perhaps probably my favorite track on the service, let's go to Rockingham. I mean, I would love to see the identity of this series continue to expand, and that these drivers really get to prove that they are the best on all different types of race circuits, Alan.
Yeah, good stuff there. And who knows, maybe Bobby Z would get a win at Rockingham if we went there. But look, we're talking all about him as we should. 2 straight wins at the top of the standings, right? When you factor in those 2 wins. I'm still not convinced, though. He is your championship favorite. Those wins coming at Richmond, the win coming at Monza. No tracks really like that in the playoffs, at least not Homestead. And that's where the championship is won. So Bobby Z, wins mean a lot, but the biggest win would be in that final race at Homestead. I want to see a little more before I declare him the championship favorite, but keep on winning and you'll sway me, I promise.
Right, so not quite all the love for Bobby Z just yet, but we do have lots of love for many of our drivers, including Bobby, in this series, especially for the Kansas City Pioneers. Let's take a look.
I chose the Kansas City Pioneers because they have a lot of exposure, and everyone that they work with, all their partners are really big NASCAR fans out of Kansas City, and they go to the Kansas City race. And I hope to accomplish everything that a rookie could accomplish this year, just hitting the marks, just being consistent, and keeping game up and being good overall.
Well, it was actually unexpected, to be honest, because I know my last 2 years of Coca-Cola series, I didn't perform the best, but having a esports team like Pioneer that actually approached me, saw something in me that I can probably exceed expectations that I know I'm capable of for this year for 2023. I want to forget 2022, honestly. That year, I just want to erase from my memory. It was not a very good experience for me. But for 2023, I think you're going to see a very different Derek Justice, and I'm going to contend for wins this year.
My path to the Coke Series is not very long, like Derek and Don have been in the series, but this is my first year doing eNASCAR professionally, and in January of 2022 was my first year doing open setups, and it's just been a really good journey. I've had a lot of people that have helped me, like Parker and Don, and everyone that has really helped me get to where I'm at right now. My biggest rival would probably be Donovan Strauss. I would say Donovan is my biggest rival because we both push each other harder each day, and I always want to beat him on and off the track.
Man, biggest rival, that's hard to say. I mean, even though it is my third year, I really don't have like a grudge against anybody, so you can't really say I have a rival, but I really don't know. If I was going to throw a name out there, I think that's going to race me hard. I mean, battle of the old guys, I'm going to say Kevin Keene.
My secret to victory would probably just being able to keep a cool, calm mind and being not nervous during the races, able to hit each apex correctly, balance school, work, and time and everything, testing, the setup, and just being not burn myself out so easily.
Getting a win, at least one win. Content, and if I do get that win, then play the big picture, just finish consistently, so you're locked in to be one of the playoff drivers to contend for the championship. When you see the moment, don't let the moment get too big. Stay humble. When you know that your expectations are going to be high, you just gotta stay within the moment and don't overthink it. Just be humble when you want to try to get that victory.
I mean, good stuff there, about the team and where they want to go. You have the mix of the veteran and the rookie there. And, you're wondering what's going to happen tonight, especially at a place like Talladega where there is some opportunity. I was looking up the stats. Wyatt Tinsley had a 7th in Atlanta, but a 31st in Daytona. So which one is it going to come out today at Talladega? It's opportunity for one of them, though.
Definitely an opportunity. I love how Derek mentioned stay in the moment. But Blake, you must agree that there are some moments where drivers just probably don't want to stay in.
Yeah, we've had a lot of memorable moments already in just 5 races, Camille, but unfortunately we also have some not so memorable moments, or at least they're memorable for the wrong reason. So we are here for another segment of really, dude, we start all the way back in our exhibition race at the LA Coliseum. This is Colin Bowden right here, the number 69 car for eRacer, is just cleaning them out. Goes in 3 and 4, wipes out a couple of them, can't control it on the straightaway, and then ends up taking out another couple of cars. I mean, look at this. Gets right into the back of Tucker Minter, causes a chain reaction. They're spinning, they're crashing. I mean, really, dude, I know this is a really tight track. We got to figure it out better than that, my man Colin. Fast forward to Daytona, mind you, this is us taking the green flag on the season. These drivers have 6 months practically to sit down, settle down, get ready for this, and we can't even make it to turn 1. Just a little bit of a checkup here. Donovan Strauss doesn't slow up for it. You can see Dylan Alt, Strauss is spinning. I mean, really, dude, we get not even one lap into the season before we get our first caution flag. Fast forward to the Milwaukee Mile. Here is Malik Ray, Michael Conti. Malik has had so many starts in this series, been so close to victory lane. He has it right in front of him, and he misses a shift going into turn 1. The veteran Michael Conti says thank you very much. He goes on to win the race. So Malik Ray, somebody who, again, has been so close to his first career victory many a times. Really, dude, you can't be messing up in that type of a situation. Fast forward to Atlanta. We're really dogging on these veterans tonight. Another one in Joey Brown, back for his return after a multiple-year hiatus. Just goes plowing into this wreck. He sees it, and you know what? I'm not going to put this all on Joey Brown. You got to have a little bit of spotter helping you as well. Everybody's checking up. Everybody's slowing down. Initially, he goes down to the apron. Doesn't slow down quite enough, ends up blowing his motor over the course of this wreck. So not exactly what we want to see there out of Joey Brown. Really, dude, we got to figure that out. And I hate to do it to this one. We saw this a couple of weeks ago, right on the restart. My man Michael Cozy Jr. takes off, car bottoms out, and there's Grant Bolin just down there on the bottom. Nothing he could do. I'm sure he's thinking, really, dude, we can't even restart at Richmond. Cozy gets out of it unscathed. Bolin rebounds for a good finish, but, I mean, come on, guys. Really, dude, this is a restart. These are the best sim racers in the world. And, of course, we have Monza last week. Our championship winner from last year, Casey Kerwin, one of the best iRacers, not only on the oval side of the service, but he's one of the best road course racers on the service as well. Self-spins after hitting a curb through a corner that I'm sure he's gone through millions of times. You can see gets a little bit of air, self-spins, and, you know, I got to give Casey credit. He rebounds to come back and finish 4th, but really, dude, you may have just thrown away your chance to lock yourself into the playoffs for a second straight year. So a couple of memorable moments we've had in the first 5 races of this year.
Casey was my pick.
Memorable. Yeah.
Really, dude? Come on, man.
Really, dude?
Really, dude?
Really, dude? I'm loving the music behind that. Really, dude, because of the ballet music and the cars flying. It's just I think at the end of the series we need to do a montage for like the top really dudes. I'm gonna make sure our producers do it. But anyways, we do have one other segment that gets me really excited. It is time for us to see your rigs at home. This is the Logitech Tweet Your Rigs. Our first one is from Jake Sperry. He's actually one of our English commentators.
Yeah, and look, you can see there he's got the controller. You don't always need the wheel and the setup rig, but all that stuff. But as they put a little joke in here, Blake, I'm sorry, but they say for those who can't drive, you commentate. So Jake and Blake, you got something in common.
All right, Jordy Lopez Jr. I've seen this a couple of times. He likes to sit pretty far away from his monitors, and boy, can he go fast. But man, cable management, dog, like you gotta fix some of that.
Yeah, I mean, not too pretty, not too pretty. Next one up, we got Crash Neon. Oh, we got the wheel on the desk, and the age-old frustration of clamping a wheel to the desk with the drawer under there. So how do you get anything, you know, if you have anything important in that drawer, Crash? I'm not sure how you help yourself out there, but hopefully nothing too important in there, and you don't need it, you know, quickly because you got
Hopefully
the wheel on there. But I like it
or something. I mean, that could be a little bit convenient. Not his rig, but this is the rig for his child. He is in the process of building this rig, so not quite complete yet, but hey, you know what? I like to see a work in progress and that it's going to a good cause right there. So well done, Mr. Butler.
Yeah, literal next-gen rig. All right, this one, I like the background with the cats. Mr. Blown Engine 11, you know, cable management. I see a lot of cables there, but, you know, they want me to make a joke about the right meow, but I'm not going to do that. But a rather good setup, right meow, right?
You just did.
But,
No.
Hey, I like it.
We not write jokes for Alan.
Right meow. Whatever gets you running on there, right meow. It's going to be awesome. Meow.
All right, and here we see James. My goodness, this is the most unique rig that I have seen. Been building it all out of wood from scratch, and I gotta say, this is
it's like a rocket.
The ingenuity and creativity here.
Yeah. It still seems like it's a work in progress as well.
I want flames to come out of that. Right? Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah, you got the monitor sitting there on a box, but I like it.
Yeah, look at this special one for Matt Busa tonight. He is at Sim Chicago. This is not his normal setup. He is in a full motion rig tonight at Sim Racing Chicago for tonight's race. First time he's ever been with these triple monitors, so he's going to take on Talladega in a brand new setting. A lot of new tonight for Matt Busa.
He is going to side draft so close tonight because he's going to be able to see that car next to him. That's a big help.
That's good stuff. Yeah, hey, I like it.
And, of course, got to go with our good friends in the production studio up there in Massachusetts. They got some Wendy's as well sent to them right there. So, you know what? Good for you guys. You guys deserve it.
You do deserve it, but stop snacking, all right? Get back to work. Get back to work. Remember to show us your rigs at home by tweeting us at iRacing using the hashtag eNASCAR. All right, now we got to look at one of the teams in the series, and you know what? Why don't we make it a double hitter? Let's check out Front Row Motorsports.
Well, FRM is a really established Cup program, and they've been building their program over the last couple of years and have been really strong, especially now with the addition of the next-gen cars. So to be aligned with them is really important to me, and hopefully we can accomplish a lot of good things. Hopefully some race wins, some top 10s, and some really good clean finishes.
So I signed with Front Row Motorsports this year because I know a few people on the team, and it's nice to have those connections. Big part of it being a NASCAR team. They were able to offer some things that are really fun, some nice interactions. So that was a big factor to me going there.
If I had to win any race, it's got to be Daytona or Talladega. I've really thought about it myself. I feel like one of my strengths is coming out in the plate tracks, and to come out and win as a rookie, that would be insane. I've got my eyes on it. I can't get my hopes up, but I've got my eyes on it for sure.
A race that I have circled on the calendar, I'd say at least a couple. The two main ones for sure, though, are obviously the season opener at Daytona. Also, I'd have to say Pocono. It's the site of my first win. It's always had a pretty close place to my heart. So if I could pull off another win there, that would be pretty awesome.
So my cat mustache, she occupies my sim rig a lot. As much as I try to get her away, a lot of cat hairs. It is a very comfy spot, but we've made an agreement that on select Tuesdays for 2023, she's gonna have to watch from the couch. She was one of my mom's coworkers actually found a little stray kitten, and it was hard to say no to this cute little kitty cat, so had to bring her in. She's a mess, but love her to death. I'd say my secret to victory is just staying clean, staying out of nonsense, and getting to the end of the race. I mean, it's such a huge part of it. I think you saw it last season, at least me on the sidelines, looking at how a lot of the races played out. The biggest thing for me as a driver is being there at the end. You can't have a shot at the win if you're not there at the end. So you got to be there. You got to put a clean race together and make no mistakes. So I think that's my strongest ability.
I think the big thing for me this year is just trying to be in the right place at the right time. Last year I had the speed in several races, but some untimely cautions kind of put me behind the 8 ball, and when the cautions happened, it wasn't enough time to get back through the field. So this year, just for me, I feel like it's a bit of luck. I need to go my way a little bit. You can only get so much luck, so definitely just trying to put as much time into it as I can to produce the speed and results that I need.
Being a content creator with so many supporters and fans and friends, it's a lot of added pressure, especially coming up through the Contender Series. Making the top 20 to make it to Coke had a lot of eyes and a lot of pressure to finish off those last 4 and squeak in. So a lot of added pressure, but I have a lot of confidence with our team and teammates. We can do a lot of great things in this rookie Coke season.
I love this pair, this duo. They are doing great. We saw that in the team standings. They have to be amongst the favorites tonight if they work together. They should have worked together a little better, I think, in Atlanta. They would have, one of them been in victory lane. Maybe they can get it done tonight.
There is another series that is happening.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, here I am. Hi. But there is a series that's happening that's outside of this series right here. That is the college series. Blake, can you give us a little more details on what we got to know if we want to get involved?
Well, you got to get after it today. This is the last day of qualifying. If you're a potential college student, you want to run in this series, qualifying ends for Daytona tonight. So if you haven't gotten on it yet, this is your last chance to try and do it. And again, it'll be the Xfinity Series cars, or the Class B cars, as they're described on iRacing. You can look at the highlights of our last race at Dover, but you could go to flyesports.com/eNASCAR. You can look up more details and sign up for our final race of, I guess we could call it the semester. This is right around finals time, I guess, or at least a couple of weeks prior. So get some Daytona racing in before you have to hit the books hard and study up and try to, again, win some scholarship money on iRacing. That's a pretty good combo, I'd have to say.
It's a sweet deal. A break from studying and then also potentially winning some scholarship money. I mean, you can't beat it. Money. But there is stresses that are happening in this series, and that is the Super Speedway. We're here at Talladega, and Alan, I feel like you got to just fill us in on what this race really means, like in terms of being a super speedway race.
Yeah, well, it's hard to believe we're race 6, and this is actually our 3rd super speedway race because we factor in Atlanta, but we've had seasons like this before. This is our 3rd season with 3 super speedway races, 2010, 2020, and now this year. Again, we're only 6 races in, but 11 drivers have won their first race at a super speedway. That includes Dale Jr. That is vintage footage right there from 2010 of Dale Jr. doing his thing. We also had Kenny Humpy in 2015, the champion that year, who won the race. And then, of course, Tucker Minter, first race out ever for him. He goes out and wins Daytona earlier this year, so not too bad for him. Only 2 drivers have ever won from the pole at a super speedway. Brad Davies right there, Talladega 2010, and then our own Bobby Z, the 2nd Daytona race back in 2020, won from the pole, and then Bobby Z was able to go on and get the victory later on in that race. The 2nd time we went to Daytona back there in 2020, so always a good quality race in Daytona. It was a different car back then in that 6 car, but only 3 of the 11 super speedway winners made the final 4. 7 of the 11 winners went on to make the playoffs. So there is some correlation there, some success if you go on and get that win. Only 2 drivers have won the championship after winning at a super speedway. Ray Alfala in 2011 and Zach Novak in 2019. Again, this is winning at a super speedway and going on to win the championship the same year. Only 2 drivers have done that. So, can we look back on history? What can that tell us? We'll have to find out. But this is our 3rd super speedway race tonight of the season will be tonight.
We're going to walk right into our Wendy's track analysis for tonight here at the Talladega Superspeedway. It's a track that doesn't need a whole lot of explanation, a lot of speed, having to use the draft to work around this racetrack. And of course, you look at the location of the start-finish line, 1,000 feet further down from the tri-oval that creates so many incredible finishes. And of course, the 33 degrees of banking that these drivers will be climbing as they move their way around this racetrack. And you can see right there, that's what 33 degrees of banking looks like. It is a lot to walk up. If you've been to any racetrack and you've walked down the banking, especially if you've done it at Talladega, there is a ton of banking here at Talladega for sure.
A ton.
Yeah, I could see it, right? Just like that. Can you?
Yeah,
hear it?
it's having that pull everyone, even outside of the track.
Smithley would be very happy right now.
Oh, good.
Well, you know who's happy? I am, because I finally caught up in our points. But before we take a look at our picks for tonight, let's remind the people where we stand. Yeah, there we go. Alan, you're still up there, but we're coming for you.
Take it off. All right, it's already off the screen. There we go.
It's gone. Blake, take it away. Who's your pick for tonight?
All right, well, Talladega is a place where anyone can win. And you know what? I'm going to have to go with somebody who was close to winning last year. And I think he's really hitting his stride. He was so strong in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Bristol on the dirt. I think he gets it done to the high banks of Talladega tonight. Give me Caden Honeycutt. He's somebody who knows how to win. I think he does it for the first time in his Coke Series career tonight.
Interesting pick. It's a fixed setup tonight. This is something different. So if it's allegedly all the same setup for everybody, I got to pick the best driver. Who's that? The current champion from Matthews, North Carolina. I'm going with Casey Kerwin. I have such an enormous lead in the standings that I just want to go steady Eddie, and this driver will do that. Casey Kerwin, smart. He'll be up there front. He'll stay out of the bad stuff, and I will maintain my lead, Camille.
All right. Well, we'll have to see about that. Actually, I don't think I'll be able to catch up with one race, but I will say who's going to help me. Bobby Z. I mean, we keep talking about him. And last year, he just had, even though it was a little messy, a great finish at Talladega. So I'm looking for him to come through again, but we're going to have to really tune in to the race tonight. We have the Biggie Bag. We have the Biggie Bag event happening, presented by Wendy's right after that. And you could drink your Coca-Cola out of your Wendy's cup and enjoy some Wendy's as well. You still have time to order, so be sure to do that and enjoy the race. Thank you, Blake and Alan, and we'll see you right after this.
I need to try it first.
There's your biggie bag. All that food for $5, right. That's my go-to.
Ooh, that's my ride or die.
Just like you and me. Bag boys. Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
You can always bet on Biggie. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag.
There's a thin line in the NASCAR Xfinity Series between winning and losing, between being the future and being past, between headlines and tailspins, between making history and being it, between the sweet taste of victory and the fumes of defeat. In the NASCAR Xfinity Series, there's a thin line between being a name they know and being a name they'll never forget.
This is no ordinary oval. The name says it all. Anywhere else, you might be safe. And as the checkered flag flies, anything can happen.
Who's your spotter? Definitely need to fire them.
Talladega.
Talladega is a track known for first, and tonight's festivities will be no different. At a track where anyone can win and everyone has the same setup, the possibilities are endless. As we say, good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to our flag-to-flag coverage of the Biggie Bag 500, presented by Wendy's. So happy you could be joining us. I'm Blake McCandless. That is Alan Cavana. And of course, we want to say hello to our friend Evan Pasoko, who is traveling to South Africa for business, so he could not be a part of the broadcast tonight. But Alan, we mentioned it just as we were bringing in the show, a first for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series in points competition, and that these drivers will all be on an equal playing field and running a fixed setup.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. This is the first time we've done it in competition. So a lot of unknowns with a field of 40 cars. How is that going to work throughout the field? So many unknowns. Does that put more on the driver? Does that take away advantage from some of the drivers? These are the questions we have to find out, and that will play out as this race comes out. I was talking with some of the drivers, some of the best in the field, and to have them say, I don't know what's going to happen, that's a real treat for everybody watching tonight.
Well, I think that would be the answer if we were at Talladega, even with open setups. But I think even with fixed setups, it should be no different. And of course, these drivers are very familiar with this, Alan. The most popular form of racing on iRacing, if you have an iRacing account, is in fixed setup series. So many of these drivers, they've already been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah, and that's good to have it, you know, when they're away from it. This is when the money's on the line, though, right? A win tonight changes your entire season. It gives you that potential to play off at a potential championship. So the fact that we've had 2 of these races before, like the Super Speedway, the play tracks, however you want to call them, and now we switch it up for Talladega. That's what I'll be watching tonight. If we see the same drivers succeeding or if new players come to the forefront.
Well, let's not wait any longer to get going. We're going to throw it down trackside to our Grand Marshal to get things started, Noah Gregson.
Welcome to the Wendy's Biggie Bag 500 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing event. Watch with us on iRacing, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels. Drivers, start your engines.
Come up to full song here at Talladega as we take a look at our starting grid for tonight. For the first time in his eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series career, Colin Keister sits on the pole, and best Zach Novak, who's running a Dale Earnhardt throwback to his last win here at Talladega. He starts in second, trailing him by 1/1000th of a second. In row number 2, you have Corey Vincent in the number 2 machine with the Pittsburgh Knights, and Garrett Maines, FGR Excel, will start in 4th. Starting at 5th is your Daytona winner and Tucker Minter for Team Dillon Esports. He was out at Martinsville this past weekend, as well as Michael Conti for Junior Motorsports, will start in 6th. 7th is Michael Cozy Jr. for Front Row Motorsports. 8th, Ryan Luza, the former series champion, rolls off in the 8th position for XSET. Starting in 9th tonight, the other Pittsburgh Knights driver in Ryan Doucette. And tying his time is Donovan Strauss for Williams Esports to round out the top 10. Going from 11th for William Byron Esports is Nick Ottinger. Starting in 12th tonight is Derek Justice for the Kansas City Pioneers. We heard from him in Countdown to Green presented by Wendy's. Starting in 13th tonight is Dylan Alt for Latarte Esports, and 14th for 2311 is Michael Guess. Looking to make it 3 in a row tonight is Bobby Zielinski in 15th, and 16th with the exact same qualifying time is Jimmy Mullis. There were 7 drivers that ran the exact same time of 53.198 seconds. It's even tough to believe that that's even possible. Rolling off there, you can see Matt Busa in 17th for William Byron Esports, as well as the other Team Dillon Esports driver in Jordy Lopez Jr. Rounds out your top 18. 19th goes to Tyler Gary for Tony Kanaan. That makes up a Tony Kanaan Esports row with Parker White in 20th. Going from 21st is Garrett Lowe for Jim Beaver Esports. Caden Honeycutt for RFK Racing lines up in the 22nd starting spot. Going from 23rd tonight, one of the best in the business at these type of racetracks is Malik Ray. Keegan Leahy for 2311 starts in 24th. Casey Kerwin starts 25th tonight, rolling off from 26th. For the other Kansas City Pioneers entry is Wyatt Tinsley. Graham Bolin, Charlotte Phoenix, starts 27th with Daniel Falkingham, JGR Racing's Toyota. He'll start in 28th. 29th to Brandon McKissick for Latarte Sports, and 30th is Dylan Duvall for Stuart Haas Gaming. 31st is Timmy Holmes for RFK. 32nd is Cody Bias for Elliott Sadler Esports. Rolling off 33rd tonight, the other front row entry in Alan Bowes, and 34th is Derek Bordeaux, the other ESC car. They'll start front to back right next to each other. Colin Bowden starts 35th tonight. 36th is Kevin King. And then 3 drivers that did not put a time down in qualifying: Steven Wilson, Vicente Salas, and Joey Brown. 3 drivers that elect to start from the back of the field tonight, Alan, without posting a time.
All right, it's going to be a good race, and let's talk to one of the drivers getting set to race from row 9. Matt Busa joining us now. He's got his Wendy Cup there. Now, familiar territory at Talladega, but Matt, you are not racing in a familiar spot. Explain where you are right now.
Yeah, I'm at Sim Racing Chicago. It's a facility in the suburbs of Chicago. It's got 10 motion rigs here. So this is the first time actually in 11 years in the series that I'm having the luxury of triple monitors. Never had triple monitors in a Coke race before.
How will that help? What's the challenge of that tonight, putting yourself in a new environment?
Yeah, it was a bit challenging at first, just getting used to different rig, different surroundings. Even the triple monitors, it's better. It's an advantage to me, but it's just different, so getting used to it. But otherwise, I think it's going to be really nice. I don't know if you can see it right now. The rig is actually tilting in the banking, so the immersion factor is really cool and neat. And I got
That's awesome.
my Wendy's here, biggie bag, fuel it up and ready to go.
There you go. Well, good luck tonight. Good luck with the full immersion there and the triple monitors. We look forward to seeing how you do in that new environment. So congratulations to you, Matt Busa. But let's go to the front of the field because Colin Keister, congratulations. It's the Biggie Bag 500 tonight, the Wendy's affiliation. And look who's on the side of your car, and you're out there in P1. How'd you pull that off?
Some might say it's rigged. I'd like to thank Wendy's for being on the car tonight and sponsoring the race. We put it on the pole. I think I got the right wind gust there, and we'll try to keep it up front, but I think this race is going to be crazy. We'll try to keep this e-racer machine up here and be in it to win at the end.
Yeah, this is a competition, but fixed setups for competition. How will that change things tonight, maybe compared to Daytona and Atlanta earlier this year?
I think it'll probably keep us tighter together just because we're all in the exact same setup and no one's going to have an advantage. So I'm going to feel like we're going to be 2 and 3, maybe 4 wide pretty much the whole race.
Oh, that will benefit us watching from home, so make sure you go out there and put on a show. Good luck tonight. You're starting from the pole. Let's see if you can end there.
Thank you.
Colin Keister starts on pole position tonight. As we take a look at our Wendy's race analysis before we get going here for the green flag, 70 laps. It'll be the shortest race that we've contested here at Talladega Superspeedway in this series. It is the 8th time we have visited this racetrack in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Pit road speed down to 55 miles an hour, and the pit lane time all dependent on whether you want to take one of those 3 sets of Goodyear Eagles that are available to you in that fuel window, 40 to 45 laps. Should be close, but for the most part should just be a one-stop race. And of course, throughout our night, if you are at all feeling inclined, the Biggie Bag hits every time with your choice of a select sandwich, for a 4-piece nugget meal, junior fries, and a small Coca-Cola drink. And of course, for April 18th, which includes today, the 22nd and 23rd, DoorDash will give you $5 off a $20 order when you order any Wendy's Biggie Bag. Want the surest of sure bets? You can bet on the Biggie here with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Lights are off atop the pace car, and Alan, we are set to get going here in just a couple of moments. So what are your thoughts just before we grab the green?
I just love Talladega, and the fact that this is the 3rd time we've been to a plate race in just 6 races, this kind of racing is so exciting because some of the unknowns, you add the factor with the fixed setups. We see some new players already at the front of the field, a lot of questions going into this race. We will see answers quickly, but someone's season can change just like that with a victory. Once they go green here at Talladega, the checkered flag is going to change someone's season tonight.
Pace car is down. The field is in the hands of Colin Keister, and the Biggie Bag 500 is underway. Good push on the outside lane as Novak gets clear of Colin Keister as they head into turn number 1. You can see that middle lane, a lot of great organization there as they start to get up to full song, nearly to 180 miles an hour off of the banking. But so far, a great launch for Zach Novak out of the gate.
Yeah, that outside lane looking strong early, and we all know that the teammate aspect of Talladega, Daytona, Atlanta can factor in so much, but you have to get near your teammate for that to really be beneficial. Until then, your friends are the car right in front of you and the car right next to you. You can see what an advantage that outside lane has. Colin Keister, it was his first career pole, Blake. You know, maybe that inside line, he's got to get used to leading that line. Michael Conti dropping down already, trying to get that push from Keister already.
And already the 2 distinct lines forming up as Zach Novak will lead lap number 1. And you talk about the possibilities here at Talladega. How about somebody that we haven't mentioned quite as often as we thought we would this year, Alan? Former series champion and Ryan Luza hasn't necessarily had the luck to go along with the speed that he has had this year, but nevertheless, this is Talladega. You can see him running up in 3rd. We talk about this in the pre-race show. This is one opportunity that you can throw all that bad luck out the window to get a win here, and Luz is certainly one of those drivers that could use it.
And we're starting to see out front, I mean, Zach Novak controlling the line. He was just up front, wanted to get the run down on the bottom. Now it's though Michael Conti taking advantage of that upper lane already with the win. You know, what can you do out there up front? We like to say how dangerous these races can be in terms of putting yourself in a bad position or being a part of bad luck. The safest place out on a track like Talladega is where Michael Conti is. So having that position, being able to choose the lane and control the race. We talk a lot about that on Sundays. The Brad Keselowskis of the world, the Denny Hamlins, who can control this race from the front. And we're seeing one pack. I'm not seeing any separation so far with this fixed setup. Like 3 by 3 by 3 through the entire field. This is great.
It's certainly dicey right there, as you could see a little bit of a wiggle out of Alan Bowes, that bright orange and blue number 34 right at the tail end of this pack. You can see how much momentum each line gains or loses very quickly. We saw Zach Novak, who, by the way, Rise Esports has been running some great paint schemes in this 75th anniversary of NASCAR. And, of course, you can see it right at the bottom of your screen there. Sunoco is the brand on the car. But, of course, that is an amazing throwback to Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s last victory in the 2000 Winston 500 at Talladega. And bravo, they brought some great paint schemes. And Alan, I don't know if there's a better one that we could have here.
Well, big block there. Sorry to interrupt. Like Michael Conti, everybody just driving down to the bottom. Zach Novak. I think everyone wants to get in front of Zach Novak, in front of Bobby Z, because we know they are going to be strong. They've been the strongest already. But we see the 8 car, Michael Conti, what he's able to do, controlling the race, who's behind him, how the spotters helping him. And then you get this run out there on the outside. I love how they're making these runs with a tight pack, but we're seeing a lot of momentum come from behind. Being the leader, not so easy to.
No, it's not so easy. You can see the focus. You can see the eyes moving around. And, of course, we talk about it in real life. It's also very important here on the virtual side when you talk about spotters and the role that they play in these races. Nearly every driver in the field, Alan, will have a spotter, will have a crew chief that sits atop the virtual pit box. And there's some big names when you talk about some of these spotters here. Brody Kostecki is spotting tonight for Ryan Luza, an Australian Supercars winner from this year. Is atop the board for Ryan Luza. As Zelensky, I believe, was down there on the apron. You can also see Jordy Lopez Jr., and it looks like Cozy may have been a part of things as well, but it looks like they're no worse for the wear, but they may have gotten drop kicks to the back of the field.
Yeah, and it's not what you want, certainly at a track like this, but this is the learning factor, right? You have to learn what your car is capable of, what you can do early on in this race, so you can have that knowledge for the end of the race. Short races, as you said, one of the shortest we've ever had at Talladega, but can you afford to drop back, stay out of some of the bee's nest, they always call this type of racing, and have the ability to drive your way back to the front? Cozy in that 38, Steven Wilson there. They are going to be two of the strongest. Can they team up together and make their way back through the field? That's what's important to learn now. Back at the front of the field, eventually you're going to have to get by the Michael Contis of the world, the Bobby Z's of the world, who's going for his 3rd straight win there. Now it's him on the bottom getting pushed by Luza. Great racing at the front of this field.
It certainly is, as we'll take one more look at the right-hand side of your screen and what happened involving Michael Cozy Jr. just a little bit earlier, and I think that's contact. Call that Ryan Luza and Bobby Zelensky right there. Yeah, that's the 18 car. The 18 and the 54 have had the same paint schemes all year with interstate batteries. So tough to sometimes tell which one's which. You can even see right there in your screen the two distinctly bright green colors adorning those Toyotas. But an evasive maneuver there from Michael Cozy Jr. He may have woken up mustache if you were watching our pre-race coverage a little bit. But as we mentioned earlier, everybody comes out of that okay. And once again, we see Novak leading that middle line, Michael Conti leading the top, and you see Derek Justice, I believe, leading that bottom lane.
Look what we're looking at right now. No worse for wear for Cozy. I mean, he just went to the back, and we could see him there in the picture with the leader. I think he's probably sitting there about, 15th, 16th? I mean, already threatening to get back up. So we're learning. We're learning already earlier in this race how fast you can get from the back of the field to the front. For someone as talented, as fast as those front row cars like Michael Cozy, that's a benefit to them to know that they can do that, maybe hang back a little if they need to, but their ability to get to the front is really going to benefit them later on in this race.
Well, you talk about that, our biggest mover so far, there he is right there. Vicente Salas started 38th and on lap 8, maybe challenging for the race lead here in short order. The late model winner at Hickory Motor Speedway a little bit earlier this year, had some bad luck at Monza last week, but looking to try to get his way up to the front of the field. You also throw Garrett Maines in the mix there, which I know this is fitting, Alan. We talk about Wendy's and what they're doing for this race, and there was a little bit of beef that I saw between Garrett Maines and Casey Kerwin after that Monza race. Even throw Graham Bolin in there, so these drivers always finding a way to fight it out, and sure you see it. Casey Kerwin goes right around Garrett Maines, not going to help him out.
No, and that's the type of, I won't call it revenge, but you can't get super aggressive at a track like Talladega, right? But what you can do is hang someone out to dry. You can choose who to be friends with or who not to be friends with on a track, in a corner, during a move like that. And Casey Kerwin, if there's beef, you can't really knock someone out of the way, but you could certainly help send them back through the field with the choices that you make. And then once again, seeing very little separation, 3 by 3 for about 10 straight rows. What racing we have going here. Here's Garrett Maines right looking out right now.
Garrett Maines led the previous lap. He crossed the line in 17th. That's how big one lap, or big of a difference one lap can make, as you can see his vantage point atop that number 12 FGR Excel Ford. And just how these lanes move, how close you want a side draft there to the middle. You can see some previous leaders in Zielinski and Conti mixing it up there in the middle lane, but right now going to hook up with Parker White on that top lane. And this is another thing, Alan, when you talk about this two-car tandem, it does work in these next-gen cars, albeit for a short amount of time because you can't overheat, but you can see how well White and Maines able to make that work.
And welcome to the party, Colin Bowden out there in front, the man with the mullet leading him for a little bit with Casey Kerwin, the champ, pushing him out there. You know he's having a good time behind the wheel of that pit right now. Good racing up front, and I just love that in-car shot of Garrett Maines. The concentration, there's Colin Bowden. He's always having up for a party. You see the concentration. You see just how sensitive the wheel's having to move, how much they have to concentrate to keep that thing out front. You have to worry about who's behind you, obviously, on your bumper. You have to worry about blocking not one, but maybe 2 lanes tonight, as we've seen the 3 by 3 racing going back. That's a lot of information you have to concentrate on and keep a steady hand on that wheel to make sure you're the one staying out front.
We talk about prowess in both the real and virtual world. Colin Bowden won at Tri-County Kartway this past weekend in his dirt karting endeavor. So congratulations, Colin Bowden. He leads that previous lap over the driver that he battled with and eventually lost that race last fall in Casey Kerwin. So interesting to see how you can be rivals and friends at the same time as one car goes darting down to the inside off the nose of Zach Novak. That is Jimmy Mullis. And yet Mullis, like we've seen time and time again already in this race, saves it, and we stay green, but Mullis drop kick to the back of the field.
And he'll need some help to get back front. Maybe it's these fixed setups, but something's helping keep all these cars together tonight. That was part of the unknown. What was the racing going to be like, especially if you had trouble? No one getting too much separation. A lot of movement from left to right. That scares me. Like, I see all this quick movement from left to right. This could totally change someone's race, someone's season, and these drivers not afraid to block tonight because it looks like getting these runs can shoot you to the front, and that means throwing a late block and hopefully catching a run and not causing the wreck.
Only 3 drivers who started in the top 10 still ran there as we completed lap number 12. Corey Vincent has now moved his way to the front as Zielinski and Conti nearly come to blows there entering turn number 3. You can see Corey Vincent there trying to lead that bottom lane, somebody we haven't mentioned a ton this year, the driver out of Louisville, Kentucky, as well as Timmy Holmes that runs right behind him. Hasn't quite had the season that he has wanted either, and yet they have found some friends in each other as they try to push along with that outside lane rolling at the moment here on lap 14.
Yeah, and that 2-car, Corey Vincent, he started the year with a top 10 at Daytona, backed it up at Atlanta, though, finished 32nd, so not the luck, not the skill that he had at Daytona, so you wonder what's going to come out tonight. Early on, driving that bottom lane, leading them to the front, trying to track them down. Good so far for Corey Vincent.
It has worked for him as you see Colin Bowden, Casey Kerwin duck out of lane. And Bowden's going to try to make a move here, and Novak not going to be able to throw the block as he was trying to do some intimidating of his own. He'll move back to the top of the field, and Colin Bowden now under assault from Casey Kerwin. Nobody, at least at the front of the field, Alan, content to ride around in line. And I think the one thought that comes across my mind is how much longer can they do it?
And look what that did. It made that field 3 by 3 by 3 once again. The important thing to note, Zach Novak has showed us just in these first 15 laps, he is one of the strongest cars. We've seen him lead. We've seen him go mid-pack and drive back up to the front of the field. You have to be thinking as a driver, as a spotter, as a team, hey, maybe we need a little safety right now. You got to get to the checkered flag if you want any shot of winning. Yes, he may not be leading. Colin Bowden a little aggressive there, but maybe you have to give up just a little to make sure you're there at the end. I like the look of Zach Novak's car right now. He can go from back to front.
Off of the north end of the speedway, Colin Bowden leads over Corey Vincent, Casey Kerwin, Timmy Holmes, and what looks like a three-way tie for fifth is Bowden trying to play the lanes, and now they may look to go 4 wide as they are just dicing it up here at Talladega. We mentioned the 33 degrees of banking that these drivers are rolling over, and they are using every single inch of it to try and protect this track position. And, you know, Alan, this is one thing I was talking to a lot of these drivers about. There's kind of been this changing mentality, I think, in super speedway racing that's, you know, for the large part mirrored what we saw in the NASCAR Cup Series the last 3 or 4 years, is that if you're not aggressive and showing that you can make moves, you're not really going to have that help at the end of the race. And I think that's a product of what we're seeing now is everybody's proving they want to learn what they can do in the draft, who they can trust, who they can work with. And I think because of that, you're seeing everybody be very aggressive and not many, as we would have seen in the past, trying to lay low and just maybe wait for the wreck to happen.
And the question is, though, is it worth it? Is it worth it at this point? Here's one of the big moves that we just saw here on the right with the 46. What happened to him going all the way from the front of the field to the back? But Jimmy Mullis was able to catch some cars, and he'll be right back up there in no time.
Speaking of being back up there in no time, he's up to 24th. Keister, and that was Michael Guest. Was about to call him Keegan Leahy, but Michael Guest, as they made a move low beneath that yellow line, which, by the way, just if you're joining us or haven't watched the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series before, that yellow line, well, it pretty much means nothing in this series. You can go beneath it and you can race there if you so choose. There is no out of bounds here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So drivers, they have the ability to use that. We likely won't see it until the last lap. As somebody who's done it in a number of moon car races, well, you can't exactly run in the corner and hold your lane down there. It doesn't work out very well.
Hold your breath and close your eyes. What I'm liking here, what we were just showing, the 23-45 teammates. Well, running together. We talked about this as we went. Got to get with your teammates. They can be beneficial in a race like this. And it takes a while for some of these teammates to find each other. But look at the 23 and 45, Keegan Leahy, Michael Guest, moving through the field. Colin Bowden trying to break up that party a little bit, probably in a good way, because those teammates of the 2311 cars were running quite well. Now we have Keegan Leahy, former champ, pushing his way up toward the front and really competing for the lead for the first time tonight.
The new 2311 employee who's making so many waves in the real world, trying to win a second championship here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series as well. He's found himself a friend in Colin Bowden for the moment, as he has tried to move that 2311 Toyota further forward. Lap 19 of 70 on the board. We have run it all under green, and we'll go side by side as we continue our coverage of the Biggie Bag 500 presented by Wendy's in a moment.
There's your biggie bag. All that food for $5, that's my go-to.
Ooh, that's my ride or die.
Just like you and me. Bag boys. Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
You can always bet on Biggie. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag.
The Biggie Bag of 500 presented by Wendy's is live here from the Talladega Superspeedway and is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And by Wendy's, the Biggie Bag hits every time with your choice of a select sandwich plus a 4-piece nuggets meal, junior fries, and a small Coca-Cola drink. April 18th, 22nd, and 23rd, DoorDash will give you $5 off a $20 order when you order any Wendy's Biggie Bag. Want the surest of sure bets? Bet on Biggie. And of course, you can look at the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen where you can take advantage of that deal between Wendy's and DoorDash. And I tell you what, Alan, Wendy's, they know how to do things right. They send us free food. So you know what? You get some shout-outs when you send some free food in my bank.
Oh, yeah. Needed a lot of energy tonight for this race just to concentrate. I can't even imagine driving and having to race in this Blake, because being on board here with Wendy's right now, I mean, having to be a part of this concentration of these nerves. I'm getting nervous watching a commercial, watching the moves that are making some of these drivers are making here, because it's honestly a little crazy this earlier in the race.
It is very crazy as we'll take you on board the Wendy's Chevrolet of your pole sitter and Colin Keister. Let's listen in. That is 1.5 laps around Talladega, and you know, the one thing I heard there, Alan, you think these drivers are going wide open. Well, you heard a lot of cracking the throttle there, a lot of lifting from Colin Keister, and that's exactly how the draft works with these cars. So very difficult for these drivers to balance, trying to make as much speed as possible, but you also can't run over the guy in front of you every single lap.
No, you can. I was going to say, for the first time tonight, we're seeing a little separation, a little single file in that top lane, and just saying that second lane forming, that third lane down there forming. So the drivers still up on the wheel trying to do all that they can. And I can't stress enough commenting on how aggressive everyone has to be. That's Garrett Lowe there in the 15, pushing Zach Novak, who's probably been the strongest car, clearly with the strongest paint scheme, but I love that view right there. And Zach Novak going from bottom to top, trying to take all the pushes that you can to stay out front, and look how effective that was. Garrett Lowe lost his partner. Now he's stuck in the middle, going straight back. We'll see that on Sundays a lot. I love seeing that effect here, because Garrett Lowe is he's just competing for the lead. Look how far back he went in just a few seconds.
Oh, a big moment there as one of the Williams Esports Chevrolets made contact there with Colin Keister, as both E-Racer cars had found each other up here at the front of the field. But you're exactly right. Garrett Lowe went from passing for the lead to not passing for the lead, almost outside the top 20 within the span of half of a lap. That's how much the draft matters here at Talladega Superspeedway. And as you mentioned, Novak been one of the strongest his cars as far as staying out front at pretty much all costs. He leads that outside lane, but somebody that we are going to talk about at nearly every super speedway race that we run here at Talladega, or any race in this series for that matter, Malik Ray has found himself to the front, and so has Derek Justice as he jumps up in front of Zach Novak.
Yeah, great racing. And again, new players that we really haven't seen as much as we probably should have throughout the year. Malik Ray started out this season with a second place in Daytona, nearly got that victory, showing the super speedway prowess. Now it's just about keeping himself there out front. And again, I keep going back to how aggressive do you want to be? Yes, it's great to lead now. It's most important to lead 43 laps from now. So if you see a big run coming, I'm seeing a lot of aggressive blocks just so early, Blake, that it's dangerous to put yourself in, but I'm seeing a lot of drivers willing to put themselves in that position. Look at Derek Justice, just move down like that, throw a big block. You can survive, go to the back, and we've seen drivers be able to make their way back to the front of the field. I'm just seeing so much aggression early on.
Well, again, I think you see the amount of desperation these drivers have. The playoff grid is filling up with winners. Derek Justice winless in his eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series career as he'll lead lap 27. Malik Ray winless in his career. Michael Guest winless in his career. Zach Novak winless since 2019. So I think you start to see a lot of these drivers. We talk about opportunity racing here at Talladega. This is their chance to try and compete, especially when we talk about this added element of it being an open setup. There's multiple reasons that we went with this fixed setup for this race. There will be 3 throughout the year. This is the first of those races, one of which being that we had a 7-day turnaround. So these drivers and their builders and these teams, they spend so much time throughout the weeks preparing their cars, fine-tuning them, trying to get as much speed out of it as possible. So we went with a fixed setup, which, if we're going to do it, Alan, I think Talladega is a perfect place to do it. It saves the teams a lot of time from preparing, and at the end of the day, the racing's probably going to look a lot like this anyway. So I think a good call here to save these teams some time, and of course to look forward to Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2 weeks' time and give them some extra time to prepare right there. But of course, for more information on everything related to eNASCAR, not just this series, but everything going on in the eNASCAR world, you can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR today, especially if you want to take a look at those point standings. Would be a good place and resource to go to try and check that out. You have 2 former series champions, though, at the front of the field, leading them into the tri-oval here on lap 29.
And when you take away the benefit of the setup and the testing and the team and the engineers, where does the strength come from, Blake, on a race like this with a fixed setup? Does that give more advantage to the driver, or how does that work?
I think it gives advantage to drivers who put in their amount of time qualifying, and I was really looking forward to qualifying with this. We've never had a fixed setup in points competition here in this series, and yet looking down the qualifying order, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 drivers run the exact same lap time. 12th through 16th was all locked together. That tells you how competitive this series is, how close everybody is, and even when everybody's on the same playing field, how close these drivers can be in terms of how much speed they can get out of the car. But things getting really shaky up here in the tri-oval with Bobby Zielinski, Malik Ray making a little bit of contact.
Ooh. Watching Bobby Z there just shake just a little bit. You were talking about, burping the throttle a little bit, having to be full blast and then also control yourself back there in the pack when you have seemingly slower cars and the ability to go fast. Now, big racing and beating, banging up in the front. That 34 car, Front Row Motorsports, finally good to see them up
trouble.
Front.
In the back of the field, a huge crash. You can see Jimmy Mullis, Michael Conti, Dylan Duval. It looks like Jordy Lopez Jr. is wrapped up in this one as well, as things went awry in the midfield entering turn number 3. And honestly, it may have even been up there further towards the front. Believe it may have been the number 40 of Dylan Alt where all of that started. Nevertheless, several drivers receiving damage out of this one. We even see a meatball flag out of Dylan Duval. And for the first time, as we are close to the halfway point, the Biggie Bag 500 is under yellow.
You just get that sense It was coming at some point. You can't only go 3 by 3 by 3 for so long. 30 laps in. Here's a replay of what happened. Starts. Looks like it starts at the front of the field. Yep.
Yeah, Dylan Duval barely gets out of lane. He may have been pushed out of it. May not have been, but nevertheless, he gets the worst end of it. We're going to show you one more time from Keegan Leahy's on board of the Logitech G Toyota. The wreck's going to start on the outside. Let's see if he gets through it. It looks like he did. Wow.
That's championship reflexes there. That's why Keegan Leahy is a champion.
Well, championship reflexes or championship luck, but you know what? You'd rather be lucky than fast a lot of times, as my grandfather used to say. As on lap 32, they are going to move down to the pits, and you know, there may not be a lot in terms of strategy going on here. I don't think we'll see a lot of four-tire calls here, Alan, but we talk about that fuel window being right around 40 laps, and sure, they may be able to make it to the end on 40 laps, but Alan, this is Talladega. Overtime, I think, is something that has to loom on a lot of these drivers' minds.
Potentially multiple overtimes. You know, how many laps will they go? This is right on that edge. The caution coming at something of a fortunate time, right? We would have had to eventually see green flag pit stops. Don't have to worry about that with the teams now and everyone getting to pit road. That takes one element out. But if this race continues and goes long, yes, fuel could be a factor. And as we've seen on Sundays at a place like Talladega, if you run out early, that's a long way around. You gotta roll around there, especially, you know, the Sunday series. So the last place you want to run out is a place like Talladega.
And certainly that is the case, and it begs the question with how we have seen drivers move up through the field. We saw Vicente Salas a little bit earlier went from 38th to 1st in the span of 8 laps. I wonder if you think about even here, you see the lights are still on in the pace car, so at least go one more trip around this Talladega Superspeedway under caution. I think if you're in the back of this field, you consider coming down once again and topping off just to make sure that you're all okay on fuel.
That'd be a great strategy call, because as we've seen, you can make it to the front so quickly, especially on a restart. We know how close this pack will be, and we know how close relatively it stayed throughout the entire race. The first 30 laps of this race, the entire pack has stayed together with these fixed setups. I mean, the racing is keeping everyone together. It's benefiting drivers who can be a little patient and get a run and shoot themselves straight to the front. And we've seen drivers prove you can do that from the back and get to the front. So a strategy call here may be the safest thing you can do.
It may very well be. Let's take a look back at 7 days ago when we took a series first trip overseas to Monza. This was the carnage that ensued on lap number 1, entering turn 1. Otherwise, everybody gets through a couple of these corners clean. And, you know, Alan, it was a short race, but I think one where the best drivers really got to showcase their skills. And at the end of it all, we talked about it on Countdown to Green presented by Wendy's. Bobby Zielinski really was able to flex his muscles and I think prove his worth here.
Yeah, you give him a track where he can go out there and be fast. It's like everybody come catch, right? And that's what they had to do, and no one was able to do it. Bobby Z getting his second win in a row. We showed that replay of Casey Kerwin, of all people, hitting the bumps. And this is, remember, he had, well, we potentially had some beef after that, but Casey Kerwin going over the bumps and kind of costing himself some track position there. He was able to rebound. Graham Boland getting hit from behind there. There was some aggression out there on the track. I mean, Bobby Z ran away with
this move right here. I mean, the fact that Garrett doesn't run into the support wall, Graham didn't take well to that. He barely misses the support wall. That's kind of where that beef originated. Kerwin didn't really have anything with Garrett Baines, but he was pretty vocal on his stream after the race talking about that move, and perhaps that he didn't think it was the right one. But nevertheless, at the end of it all, the fastest driver won the race. Bobby Zielinski takes his second straight win, and he's looking to make it 3 in a row this week at Talladega. Of course, NASCAR and iRacing partnered together. iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. And if you want continued updates on everything going on in the eNASCAR and iRacing world, again, we got another QR code for you at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. as we continue to roll along here at the Talladega Superspeedway. And of course, not only if you want to learn more about iRacing, you can learn more about getting some discounts on some Wendy's. You get $5 off a $20 order when you order any Wendy's Biggie Bag. That's today. That's April 22nd and April 23rd. You can scan both QR codes at the bottom of your screen to get in on that deal. You can see in the middle of your screen, the lights are off on the pace car, so we are just about ready to get back going, Alan.
And I'm looking at that 66 car in fourth place, Tyler Gary. Probably should talk more about them, but Kanaan Esports, new to the series this year. We highlighted them on Countdown to Green last week before Monza. It was great to talk with Tony Kanaan, but his drivers are doing great and keeping them up in the standings. But Tyler Gary specifically, the two races so far this year at Daytona and Atlanta, Tyler Gary has finishes of 7th and 6th respectively. He's got some skills on these super speedways. It takes patience. It takes a certain skill set to succeed at these tracks. Tyler Gary has it. I'm not surprised to see him up there.
They don't call him Dr. iRacing for nothing. Pace car is off, and the field is in the hands of Zach Novak and Colin Bowden, but we're going to go on board the Coca-Cola Chevrolet of Jordy Lopez Jr. as we get things rolling back here under the green in the Biggie Bag 500. Trouble at the front of the field. Tyler Gary, Alan Bowes, and a couple of others got all jumbled up at the front of the field, and the caution flag is out for the second time, and that was right at the front, Alan, with our race leaders. It doesn't look like there's too much significant damage out there. Maybe Daniel Falkingham, I think, is the only required repairs that I see. Otherwise, everybody just a simple spin, and they're okay. It looks like Kerwin may be your race leader, but again, an untimely push at the front of the field, I think, is what caused all of that.
And that's what bunching the field up can threaten to do, right, with these wrecks at the front of the field, which we can see. We've seen the aggression tonight. We've seen the want, the need to be out front. That is generally one of the safest spots out there. That's why Casey Kerwin, Bobby Zielinski doing so well out there now. But when that battle, the aggressive battle to be at the front, can cause some entire field-wide wrecks, and we're going to see that right here in the replay.
And you can see Alan Bowes just into the back of Novak. It gets him out of shape, and honestly, it was kind of the reaction to that. Everybody saw cars darting beneath the apron, and you can see Falkingham just at the top of your screen get turned. This is my pick tonight, Caden Honeycutt. I'm hoping that he clears this as he goes down to the apron. He's run here in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series competition, kept his foot in it. It looks like he gets through unscathed.
Nice and smooth there. Maybe getting the worst of it was the driver who kind of caused the wreck, Alan Bowes. Got the worst of it, making contact with Zach Novak at the front of the field, and then we'll have to check any damage there, but certainly starting in the back for this.
Well, speaking of our picks, so we get to have you up here to discuss this. So Kerwin, of course, they're going to bring this up. They're going to throw up the graphic as soon as Kerwin is leading the race.
Look who's out there. Look, my thinking was, with so many unknowns and having the fixed setup and taking some of the advantages away from other drivers that we'd seen earlier in the season at the Daytonas and Atlantas of the world, I'm just going to go with the best driver, the steady Eddie of it all, the one who has concentration, the one who's smart behind the wheel. So I just had to go with Casey Kerwin. It was a strategy pick, but it's paying off right now.
And I would say that, it's not a bad pick, and even with fixed setups, we talk about fixed setups. You know who's won thousands of fixed setup races? Malik Ray probably has more wins on fixed setups than any driver that's competing tonight in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Of course, that's an iRacing official competition, not here in the Coke Series. He is still looking for his first career win, but I think we've seen it all so far tonight, Alan. We've seen great racing. We've seen the aggression stay stay up. And for the most part, we've stayed clean, but I know we were talking about it pre-race that as soon as we got one, we may see a string of this, and perhaps this is the beginning of that.
And it's an aspect of survival, right? Who can get through it? We saw Caden Honeycutt able to get through. Keegan Leahy, some of these replays. Putting yourself in the back, now the laps are counting down. I was preaching patience earlier. Now that we're in the back half of this race, being back there, it's only going to get worse for some of these drivers. How many times can you gamble and get through? I think that only pushes the aggression factor even further because you don't want to be in the back of the pack if these cautions keep breeding cautions, as the old cliche goes, because you're going to get caught up in one of them eventually.
Certainly so. And of course, you can see right there the World of Outlaws video game is still being worked on. They're still releasing updates. I was reading something very recently that they are still continuing to update that. So if you got a console, of course, World of Outlaws, you can get into that. And of course, even recently, iRacing announced some new ventures that they may be getting into as far as console gaming is concerned with some other racing games. So very interesting to see perhaps the future that is coming up for that as we continue to still run under the caution. We're in the second half of this race in the Biggie Bag 500, and I think we have Vicente Salas standing by, which, Vicente, we talked to you last week, and, well, it was for a bad reason, but now you're up here in second, so a reversal of fortunes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all in the hat, guys. I didn't have it on. I haven't worn it all year. But today was a good day at the track at Hickory Motor Speedway. Thought I'd continue the good vibes where the Carroll Speed Shop had here. So, so far it's doing us well. Maybe it'll keep it going for us.
Yeah, you need some of those good vibes. Finishes of 32nd and 27th at Daytona and Atlanta. What's different tonight? What's putting you on this front row at the restart?
I think, me and my spotter, we've got something really good going here. I feel like we're really connected right now. We're making the same moves. We're on the same page. We were doing the same thing at Atlanta. Obviously, it didn't end too well for us, but I'm hoping here, we can capitalize and finally finish a race. We haven't finished one, like you said.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck. Maybe find a teammate and draft to the front and stay out front and block, be aggressive, whatever you need to do. Good luck out there.
Yes, sir. Hey, and if you guys haven't grabbed a Wendy's Biggie Bag, make sure to do it. It's only $5. It doesn't cost that much. So cheers.
I was going to do the QR code read, but I think Vicente Salas just did it there for us, Alan.
Yeah, hey, whatever works. It sounds like, getting their Wendy's points tonight. All the drivers on message. I love it.
Very good stuff there from Vicente Salas, which, of course, you can scan the QR code on your screen for that. Again, as we mentioned earlier, late model winner earlier this year at Hickory Motor Speedway for Carroll Speed Shop. But back up front, Casey Kerwin, Vicente Salas, who you just heard from. Zielinski is up there as well. We've seen Colin Bowden in a couple of interesting spots where he's been sliding all over the place, but he continues to run up here in the fourth position. Zach Novak, and I love that 2000 throwback that he's got on that car. Rise Esports has really been bringing it as far as paint schemes are concerned this year, and Novak has done a great job with that, as well as Michael Guest to his outside. He's somebody, when we talk about Malik Ray, great friend of Malik Ray right there is Michael Guest. So look for those two to try to link up at some point late in this race and see if one of them can't score their first eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series victory. Casey Kerwin and Vicente Salas, as we just mentioned, your top two will lead us back to the green flag as we go back into the restart zone. We're going to take you on board here with Matt Busa starting back here in the back of the pack as he is live from Chicago Sim Racing. You know, I love, we talked about Busa was going to be in a brand new rig. He's running triple monitors, and you can see him leaning with the banking too. I know we did a little demonstration on Countdown to Green, but that's a new element for somebody who may not be used to it.
Yeah, and kudos to him for doing that in season, in competition. All these races mean so much, and for him to do that at Sim Racing Chicago in a race like this that's so important, so intense, so pressure-filled, hopefully it helps him have 3 monitors and being in that rig with the full motion and everything. But anything different is something you have to get used to. Even in practice, sure, you get a little practice, but in competition, that's where he's got to learn on the fly. So kudos to him for doing that for us.
Well, he has run 175 races without a motion rig. This is his first one, and looking to go back to victory lane for the 4th time in his eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series career. You can see the field starting to develop that third and middle lane that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Michael Conti, Ryan Doucette, and by the way, Ryan Doucette, he was a little bit further back onto the field. He was running right there with Michael Conti. He did a little bit of drafting earlier this weekend. He was out at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway running some modifieds, so got a little bit of drafting practice. You could see him right there before this weekend. But of course, got a shout out. He ran in 9th. How about Kevin Iannarelli, associate producer of iRacing, finished ahead of Ryan in that race. So a shout out to Kevin as well.
I love it. I love the shout out to the mods. I'm from Connecticut. I'm from New England. I know all about the ground pounders. And it's funny to explain to people how New Hampshire is a drafting track for the modifieds. But hey, if it's helping Ryan Doucette, if that got him some experience in the draft, it's helping him tonight. He's having, from Framingham, Mass, he's doing a great job tonight. I love his setup there, that picture. He's even smiling. Maybe he knows we're talking about him right now, but hopefully he's concentrating. But good setup there, great lighting too.
Hopefully so. I was excited to hear that he was going to be running some modifieds earlier this year, and it's awesome to see the amount of real-life racing that a lot of our drivers have done. Of course, even Graham Boland, that was right next to him there for a moment, ran some unrestricted micro sprints a little bit earlier as we jump along board Steven Wilson, and perhaps looking to change his luck, Alan. We know he just jumped into the top 20 in points, but a clean-shaven Steven Wilson. I don't know, maybe there's some superstition along here with Talladega.
Well, we know how important aero is, right, at Talladega. So you want to be as smooth as possible. You can't have any drag, and that includes face. So I get it, Steven Wilson. You can't have any drag. You gotta go hairless on your face. That's what I did. I make sure I shaved. Actually, I don't shave at all. I haven't shaved in all my years, but that's what keeps me smooth in the draft. But whatever, it's working for Steven Wilson. As you mentioned, get in the top 20 as a winner. That's his most important battle of the season. So he has to have another good finish tonight.
And it is, as things are getting squirrely. They are 4 wide around Michael Conti as Salas goes to the lead. Conti has no help there in the 4th lane. He'll drop back a couple of rows as Casey Kerwin and Nick Ottinger were duking it out at the front of the field. Salas will lead the outside. Ottinger finds himself up front in the Logitech Chevrolet, or at least of that middle lane, rather, I guess I should say, with Malik Ray still leading this field. So again, things change around very quickly here at Talladega.
Yeah, and Malik Ray emerging as what we kind of saw Zach Novak early on in this race, someone who can stay up front and get up front and block without being too aggressive. Like, yes, we have the 25 and 2 going by right now, but Malik Ray not overreacting, taking the push from Casey Kerwin there in the 95. It's so important to stay as patient as possible, knowing he can get right back in just a few laps.
See if he can do a 27 laps to go as they continue to run around here at Talladega. We have been slowed by just 2 caution flags and a 3rd one as we were just about to go to break, but yellow flag on the speedway as we were just about to send things off. It was further back in the field off of turn 4. And it may have involved, I think, Tyler Gary once again as they were navigating the tri-oval here for about the 22nd position. And so I was just about to say, slowed by 2. Well, now we're slowed by 3 yellow flags.
Maybe it was the announcer's jinx. I was calling out Tyler Gary before on how well he was doing. Let's take a look at the replay and see what happened. But rough start, we're looking at Tyler Gary there, coming down from the top, from the wall, collecting other cars. Not sure what happened there with the 66.
That looks about as much like a racing deal as I think you can have. Gary trying to go to the bottom, or at least try to go to the middle, rather, and then you have McKissick who's trying to go up into the middle lane. So that's just a case of two drivers going for the same piece of real estate at the exact same time. I wouldn't necessarily put any more fault on either driver. So with 26 laps to go, we are now slowed by our third caution flag of the night. But the end of the race will take you through to the end here in the Biggie Bag 500, presented by Wendy's. We'll be right back.
I need to try it first.
People throw around legend a little too freely these days. Legends are legends for a reason. It's why most are never called it. A legend in this sport is about 75 years of going fast and all the unforgettable moments that build those years up. So after all this time, when we call something NASCAR Legends, you best know we mean it.
Back with you here for continuing coverage of the Biggie Bag 500 out Talladega. It is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Lights are still on atop the pace car. Means we are under the yellow flag running here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Blake McCandless and Alan Cavana on the call with you here. As we have had one exciting night, Alan, so far. Most of the drivers, though, when we just went to break, they had the opportunity to pit. I would say that about 90% of the field elected not to do so.
Track position so important. Especially you want to be at the front of the field. We're seeing some new players. Autoboss there at the front of the field for the first time tonight. Is that a product of patience paying off? Is that experience paying off? Getting to the front of the field at the right time, and especially trying to stay there, keeping yourself there at this point in the race, that will be necessary as we get closer and closer to this checkered flag. But nice to see some new players. We've seen a lot of players at the front of the field tonight, Blake.
We certainly have. One of those being Nick Ottinger, who, of the 7 races that we have run here at Talladega, he has won 2 of them, leads the series all-time in race wins at Talladega. As Alan, you have caught up with Corey Vincent.
Yeah, Corey Vincent sitting there in second. Corey, this race has been crazy. 3 by 3 by 3. What is it like behind the wheel from your perspective, trying to be both aggressive and patient?
It's definitely crazy. I'm sure you can tell by watching it. It's wild for sure. I mean, things have been going pretty good for us so far. We felted it back a couple times, but we're able to kind of make it back up and get back up here. We have a little bit of left front damage, but it doesn't seem to be hurting us too bad because obviously we made it back up to second, and we're just gonna see if we can keep this track position, try to get this win for the Pittsburgh Knights and get them the first win, try to get in the playoffs.
How necessary is it to be aggressive? We've seen a lot of aggressive blocks out there. Some of them have paid off, some of them have not. How much do you need to be aggressive, and how strong can you be if you want to throw a block?
Yeah, you got to be aggressive with them. Actually, I threw one that was a little late early in the race. That was I forgot who it was, but yeah, it was a little late. So, but it's kind of just the package and you know how we have to race. If you're up front, you got to block to keep the truck position. So it's gonna get wild here as it comes down to the end.
24 to go. You're in one of the safest spots, being out front. So let's hope you stay there. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Blake, you heard it. you got to try, right? You got to try to throw those blocks. You got to do what you can to defend, but throwing too late of a block or mistiming your block can end your race or end your potential for a win. So a lot of people look forward and straight out the windshield. It's what's behind you that really seems to be the danger in races like this.
Certainly so, but I wonder if you're starting to think about where you want to position yourself. We have seen so many times since we had this next-gen car at these super speedway races that being the leader on the last lap is typically not where you want to be. You think about Daytona, Tucker Minter makes the move off of turn 4 to pass Casey Kerwin, and Bobby Zielinski, his win here came off of a last lap or last couple of feet pass, I guess you could call it, between Casey Kerwin and Colin Bowden last fall. We'll come to the restart. It'll be 23 laps to go when we get the green flag. Ottinger and Vincent, your top two.
And let's see what Ottinger can do from the lead. We've seen Bobby Zielinski up there for much of the night. We've seen the 2 and the 7, Malik and Corey, up there for much of the night. We haven't seen what Nick Ottinger is capable of at the front of the field. How aggressive will he be throwing these blocks, especially early? We've seen the benefit of being the leader and the relative safety you get from doing that, because you don't want to be back here in this field trying to be aggressive at the same time while you're trying to get a good finish.
Again, it looks like he's found Bobby Zielinski to help him navigate through turns 3 and 4. We see Vincent still leading that outside line, and got to give a tip of the cap to Tucker Minter, who, as far as rookies are concerned, has had one of the best debut campaigns, at least up to this point in series history. And I know it's a small sample size, but he has the second best average finish in series history through 5 races. So Tucker Minter, your Daytona winner, finds himself up in third right now and maybe lurking at just the right time to try and find himself into victory lane. But Ottinger, Parker White, Ryan Luza trying to make that bottom lane work. And oh boy, here comes a big shove up the middle. Graham Bolin is hooked up there with the one machine of Derek Bordeaux.
Again, new players emerging. The 48, the 1, Graham Bolin, Derek Bordeaux. Now Michael Conti, where's he been? Right, he was at the beginning of this race. He was out there leading, showing up at the right time. 2-car tandem there pushing its way to the front. That's something to remember on the final lap. How many cars do you need to make moves? That 2 cars that we just saw there, being able to make a move to the front, that tells us a lot about what they can be capable of on the final lap.
Again, we talk about recent history. Oh, trouble. Michael Cozy Jr. hard to the outside wall into turn number 1. Caution is out. A couple of more cards slide down the banking. Corey Vincent looks like he may have been involved in that as well, as some drivers looks like they may have significant damage after that one. Caution flag is out. About a 3 or 4 car wreck at the top, right at the entry of turn 1.
Michael Cozy Jr., one of those drivers that I've been mentioning all night between Daytona and Atlanta. Michael Cozy Jr. had finishes of 5th and 4th. One of the players at these super speedways. I expected a lot out of them and the front cars tonight. Not the race that car wanted.
No, it's not. But honestly, looking at that wreck, though, I don't think too many drivers... It may be okay after that one. All things considered, Steven Wilson kind of made a last-ditch effort to try and spin out of the way. He's able to do that. We'll take one more look at it. You see Cozy, the bright red car, right underneath Dylan Alt. Tries to get in line there with Tyler Gary. Has a little bit of contact with Ryan Luza.
A lot of check up there. And Michael Cozy, wrong place, wrong time, and gets a little tap from behind from the 4. Tough deal if you're the 38 there.
See one more time for Dylan Duval trying to make his way back up through the field. Didn't have too many cars behind him, just elected to put on the brakes. Works out for the 41.
The safest thing you can do. Well, remember that. Let's see, Dylan Duval obviously had to give up some track position there to keep his relative safety. Let's see where he ends up at the end of this race, given that he is still in it. That's the point of these surviving these wrecks. Make sure you are still in it.
So Graham Bolin looks like he may, well, actually it looks like no, Derek Bordeaux I don't know. I'm not sure if they can make up their mind here pacing around under caution. I think it is Graham Bolin who will resume the race lead, and I think we're actually going to catch up with him here in just a couple of moments. Inside 20 laps to go. This is the time where you want to do it at Talladega. We've been lucky to hear from a couple of drivers as we get down to the end of this thing. We caught up with one more, and Graham Bolin.
Graham, nice to join us here. Thank you for that. You've been one of the best on super speedways this year, but haven't seen you much tonight. What has this race been like in your journey to the front of the field right now?
A little bit up and down. It's been very chaotic. I didn't really know which lane to pick early. I think the middle is pretty good, but up front, you just go with that, whatever like energy you see, and you just try to block that lane. But yeah, it's been a little bit up and down. I repaired some damage I got in the second caution because of a stack up, and then yeah, me and Derek got hooked up when we were flying. It was sick.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. We've seen big packs of cars, we've seen long lines of runs, but two cars together, you and Derek, were able to make up a lot of room. How important will that be at the end that you have that knowledge now?
It's very important. We knew that before. It's just like there's been so many stacks, and people are afraid of like getting left out because the right rear side draft is so high. So you can go from like first to 20th in the span of like 5 seconds. So yeah, if you get a good connection with another guy, you can make some ground up. So at the end, they'll be important.
All right, well, you have to go on defense now. So good luck the rest of the race. You're in a new position out there out front. Good. Enjoy yourself out there. Let's talk to another driver, the driver of the number 8, Michael Conti. Michael started early on in this race. We were talking about you throughout. Then you jump back a little bit. Now you're once again a player toward the front of the field. How do you describe the action out there tonight going back and forth?
Yeah, Alan, it's been a lot of fun. Kind of went into this race with no expectations, just trying not to take anything too seriously. I mean, I got my neon gloves and my sweater polo on here, so as you can tell, I'm trying to keep it calm. It was just vibing out here, running the race, taking what I can get. But yeah, nobody really wants to work with us. I don't know if I've been erratic or too aggressive or what, but I keep getting hung out. So I got the 25 up here. We're going to try to hook up with him and go to the front, but it's been really fun from the driver's seat for sure.
Yeah, you tweeted earlier you might want to be in full send mode tonight. What does that mean for Michael Conti?
Well, man, like this is my last plate race. There are no more plate races after this in my Coca-Cola Series career. So I feel like the last bunch of races I've sat in the back. I've tried to go the points route, but we've got the win. We're locked into the playoffs for the most part. So I'm just up here having fun, getting this WR1 car some TV time, doing this red number 8 proud at Talladega like it used to.
Hey, boss man Drew Edmondson wants to tell you to stop texting and driving, so he's watching it. He wants you to know that, so be careful out there.
Just call me Brad Keselowski circa 2012, but we're having fun. Hope it's a good watch.
Hey, Brad Keselowski made history. That picture went to the Hall of Fame, where Michael Conti will potentially race for a championship, Blake. So he's got the right mindset right now.
He does, and I think that mindset, you can clearly see how much it matters that he already has a win, that he's not near as stressed out as everybody else is here who is trying to fight their way into the playoffs. You can scan the QR code to the right-hand side of your screen. The Biggie Bag hits every time with your choice of select sandwiches, plus a 4-piece nugget meal, junior fries, and a small Coca-Cola drink. On April 18th, 22nd, and 23rd, DoorDash will give you $5 off a $20 order when you order any Wendy's Biggie Bag. Well, the surest of the sure bets, you can bet on Biggie and take advantage of that again today, the 22nd and the 23rd of this month. Lights are off on the pace car. 18 laps remain. We'll get 17 when we take the green flag. We talked about aggression and the fact that really anything could change here. We have this running order right now. I know we talked about our picks a little bit earlier. Casey Kerwin was leading at one point. Now he's in 10th. Bobby Zielinski was leading early in this race. He's in 4th. Caden Honeycutt was just about to crack the top 10. He's in 27th, Alan. But, again, anything can happen these last few laps.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen just cars go from the back to the front. We've talked to some of the leaders who were in the back not too long ago. I'm wondering about the 75 of Mr. Novak. What is he going to do? Unfortunately, way back there in 36. Does he have enough time? We know he can lead this race. Does he have enough time? Any worry about damage? Can he get there in 18 laps?
We'll see if he can do it. Lights are off and the pace car is down. It'll turn to 17 laps to go as we enter the restart zone. Graham Bolin, Derek Bordeaux leading us back to green here at Talladega. And they'll get us up to full song with a good push from Nick Ottinger there on the bottom as he tries to link up with who we was just talking about earlier, Michael Conti.
And it was interesting what Michael Conti said about no one wanting to work with us. Somebody should work with him. He has shown he can get to the front. If you can team with him, we saw what two cars could do with Graham Bolin and Derek Boudreau. Two cars can make a big move here. Why wouldn't you want to team with Michael Conti? Eventually, someone will smarten up and partner with the 8 car because they will be able to get to the front. Final lap, different story, but you got to get there first, and teaming with the 8 car may be able to do that.
How much convincing do you have to tell somebody to pair with a red 8 car at Talladega? I mean, I just feel like that would come naturally, wouldn't it?
Right, exactly. We're just doing stories today, doing my work at NASCAR.com, talking about the heyday of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 8 car, won 4 straight times here at Talladega. Why wouldn't you want to team up with an 8 car? That's a great observation, Blake.
Well, it is, apparently nobody does. Again, he gets drop kicked down to the middle, and he's going to fall until the middle lane, and even the middle lane's going to try to abandon him as well. So Conti not finding any friends out here at Talladega. It goes to show you it's not just what you know when it comes to this draft. It's who you know, who you're willing to work with, as Tucker Minter has taken over the race lead and given on to Wyatt Tinsley, another series rookie who finds himself up here in the second position. Another one of those drivers that can really have their season changed if he were to win this race.
Yeah, we heard from him in Countdown to Green, just talking about joining the series and getting with Kansas City Pioneers, how significant that would be. And the patience, these drivers are learning a lot during this race with the fixed setup, how the cars are working, how the runs are working, how aggressive you should be and or shouldn't be. And with only 15 to go, those who have learned their lessons and can put that all together, that's really pushing those to the front. And look who it is, Blake. Mr. Casey Kerwin, Steady Eddie himself, the defending champ. There's something about these races that is benefiting, his knowledge, his patience. And finally, we have teammates out there. Casey Kerwin, Exet, teaming up with the 4 of Ryan Luza. We've been waiting for this all night, wondering when teammates, what they could do together. 1-2 right now out on that top row.
Somewhat reminiscent of what we saw at Daytona with the front row motorsports cars working together at the front of the field, and it is paying dividends right now for Casey Kerwin and Ryan Luza. 14 laps to go. You still have Malik Ray, Wyatt Tinsley, and a couple of other big hitters up here at the front of the field. 14 laps to go. 3 wide throughout the field, and yet I don't think we're any closer to knowing who's going to win this race.
And we're seeing the Casey Kerwin, back to what we saw earlier. Can you control the race? Can you go from the top lane to the middle lane, down to the bottom lane if you're seeing a run? Is it worth it if you're Casey Kerwin? We're seeing that top lane work. Lead you the entire way around. Maybe you miss a lap as the leader, but it's keeping you up there in that lead pack as a contender. That seems like the safest spot to be right now. I say that as Graham Bolin moves up in front of him.
There's been a lot of jockeying, especially if you're that lead car in any one of these lines. It looks like at the front of the field, it may be Wyatt Tinsley. No, it won't be. It was Malik Ray that led that lap. I was about to say that would have been Tinsley's first lap led in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Instead, give it to Malik Ray by 1/100th of a second, and it was a dead tie for second between Graham Bolin and Wyatt Tinsley there for that second spot.
And shout out to Colin Keister there, leading the bottom lane. He started on the pole. He was competing for the lead there. Oh, we got
trouble.
A caution.
Zach Novak goes around. Caution is out. As things got all jumbled up here in turns 3 and 4 with 13 laps to go. We are under the caution flag once again as it really started there. I think Vicente Salas may have gotten a little bit out of shape or gotten a bad bump somewhere. Somebody in the middle of the field got all sorts of sideways, and I believe it was that middle lane, and it actually might have been Keegan Leahy. I'm hearing that it may have been, so we'll take another look at it here in just a moment. I'm going to think it may have been Leahy that got sideways right at the entry of turn 3. And, we've seen this time and time again, Alan, these checkups as drivers get these large runs into the corner. just not being able to check up in time, one bad bump after you're so close, and this is the end result.
We've got the replay here. Middle pack. Checking up different speeds. We were showing this earlier from the in-cars. Zach Novak gets the worst of it. Still hard to say exactly what happened. So much going on in the middle of the pack.
We'll take a look one more time. This is Derek Justice, who would have been just behind this accident.
Oh. The luck runs out for the 75 of Novak. Tough night. We saw him dominating out front. Had the car that could get from mid-pack to the lead once again. But getting back there late in this race, it cost him.
Shout out to our production team. We've gotten a lot of good looks of drivers who are able to dodge some wrecks, go left, go right, slow down. And, of course, it's always nice to go back and see when you dodged a wreck like that and somebody is able to have a good run, a top 5, or potentially win this race, how that kind of factors into everything. So 11 laps to go here at Talladega. And we talked about this paint scheme a number of times in this race, the throwback to Dale Earnhardt's final victory in 2000 here at Talladega. We'll catch up about it here with Zach Novak.
Zach, sorry to talk to you while you're in the pits after a rough incident. What happened out there just now to cause the caution?
I'm really not sure. I couldn't really see anything. Seemed like, just kind of everyone going for one spot at the same time. But, we kind of put ourselves back here, which is frustrating. I made one bad move, and we've gotten in the last 2 wrecks because of it. So that's frustrating. I feel like we were, in a really good spot to maybe win the race. But yeah, we still got time, still got about 10 laps to go. We made up 15 spots in 2 laps right there, so we'll see.
Well, I love the confidence you've shown all night. You can go from back to front. You can especially lead this race, so it's a good-looking paint scheme. Good luck out there. This should be fun to watch you in this last 10 laps.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see if Zach Novak can try to make his way back up to the front of the field and take his first series triumph since he won the series championship back in 2019. We'll take a look one more time. This is Zach Novak's vantage point through this last wreck.
He said it himself, couldn't see what happened really in front of him. That's the nature of this racing, right? Look at how close you are on a guy's bumper, and it almost makes it through. Racing luck runs out for the 75.
And that's a disheartening feeling as a driver when you see your windshield and it looks clear in front of you, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere you just get tagged. Not a fun feeling for sure there if you're Zach Novak, but I think the damage may not be all too bad on his machine. And we talk about names up here that we haven't seen at the front of the field much this season, and it's difficult when you think about Ryan Luza, all the success that he has had in this series in his career, and yet it's been a little bit of a drought, at least this season. Won Bristol last year, but for somebody who was used to winning in droves just, several years ago, I'm sure it's got to be frustrating to not just quite jump in and have that success again. But yet here he is at the front of the field with that opportunity.
Especially knowing you can win, knowing you have won. And look, repping the set on Team X set, your teammate is winning races and winning championships. That can't be easy either, right? You have similar stuff. You have similar skills, and one's winning it and one isn't. So this is a good opportunity for Ryan Luza to put it back in victory lane. We got Wyatt Tinsley here. Wyatt, you're putting yourself in a position to compete for a win. How important, how tough will these last 10 laps be?
It's going to be really difficult. I got to really, really try to protect my outside lane, protect my inside lane, and really see who I can really work with here. Hopefully me and Malik can get going on the outside lane here. I know him and Casey are really good pushers. Hope we just got to roll. And I've been able to keep my track position here, so I'll be happy to be up here, and I appreciate everyone watching.
It sounds like you got a lot of work to do, Wyatt. We appreciate it. He finished 7th, Blake, at Atlanta, so having the super speedway, the abilities to do it, to be there at the end, we know he can do that. But you heard his description there. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got to block inside. He's got to block outside. Oh, yeah, they're going at full blast. He's got to worry about in front of him and who's coming up from behind. Not an easy job for any of these drivers.
No, it's not. And I think you heard in his voice there a little bit of that excitement, the desperation for somebody who's relatively new to this series, running in the top 5 with under 10 laps to go. He's amped and perhaps a little bit of nerves as well, but we'll see if Wyatt Tinsley is up to the task. The rookie runs in 6th. You have a couple of your Championship 4 competitors that make up the front row. You have Tucker Minter running in 7th as well, who won back at Daytona. Throughout this top 10, you see a list of names who have not visited victory lane in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series before, and we'll see if one of them gets to victory lane here. 10, now 9 laps to go. Graham Boland leaves them back to the stripe.
And not a lot of pairs of teammates out there. Who's going to find friends, and how quickly can they do it? Got to play it smart here. Got to stay out front.
Oh, and Boland maybe have gotten loose off the nose of Casey Kerwin. He goes back down to the bottom. He'll come back up to the top of the racetrack. So Boland, trying to play the Pied Piper here at Talladega, goes back to the top, and one car gets out of line there in the middle. That is Derek Bordeaux. Hasn't won since his debut in this series, now leading the middle lane.
And Michael Conti looking for friends, has a friend back there, Bobby Z. Can they push that inside line? We've seen that inside line make up ground if all 3 can stay together. The outside seems to have the advantage. 2 cars, though, the 8 and the 4, Ryan Luza, Michael Conti. They know a lot about winning. Can they work together? Maybe Michael Conti, as the pusher, can be a friend here.
Maybe he can. Between those 2 drivers, 31 career wins in the series as Conti gets out of shape there off the corner. He's able to save it. Luza will lose him and go back up to the middle lane as the top seems to be the place to be right now. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of organization up there.
And this is just coming, what have you learned in the first 50-plus laps of this race? What can you apply right now? It's not time for patience, but if you can stay on that top lane, it seems like it is being the safest spot to be. Even though that inside lane is going for the lead right now, you have to maintain your spot at the front of this field. This is a great shot here. 4 wide, back in the field, everybody trying to get as much as they can when they can because the laps are ticking down. Steven Wilson there on the outside. What can they do? Look at him close up on that outside lane. I love that shot.
We're really seeing cars, they use the bottom to get to the front, and then they go right to the top to try and protect their position. We saw Luza do it, who led that last lap. Now Bordeaux has done the same. Colin Keister, your pole sitter, has finally found his way back up to the front of the field. As you can see, Colin Bowden just in front of them. Michael Cozy Jr., Jordy Lopez form up to try and form that bottom lane, and they have one heck of a run. Here comes Michael Cozy Jr. to the front of the field.
Where did he come from? We were just talking about him as one of the drivers in a wreck. It was a bad day for the front row motorsports cars, and now here he is leading with 7 laps to go.
16th to first in 1 lap is Michael Cozy Jr. as he goes to the front of the field with a big shot from Jordy Lopez Jr. 6 laps to go. Colin Keister now edges out front as Lopez a wiggle there on the bottom.
Just great racing at the front of this field. It seems like the 95 has been the staple of this race. Casey Kerwin has been toward the front, being a good pusher, being a good leader. It seems like if you are near him or can team with him, you will find success. It's just a matter of throwing those blocks and trying to get in front of the 95 so he's the one pushing you rather than you getting passed by the 95. Woo, big block there.
Kerwin, a big block there on Malik Ray. A couple cars scattered in the back of the field. They saved it, and nobody lost the draft. Coming now, just 5 laps to go in the Biggie Bag of 500. Casey Kerwin, Malik Ray, Colin Keister, your top 3.
And this is what we have to watch. Is it worth it for the 95 to move down and make that block? I think on Jimmy Mullis there. Is it worth it to go back up and swing toward the wall again? Oh, my goodness. Casey Kerwin. Oh,
That is Parker White. He saves it. He's in the wall, and now he may drift back up onto the track right now. Still green, but with a broken suspension. Back up front, Malik Ray has control of this field. Colin Keister in tow, along with Derek Bordeaux. And oh, by the way, Matt Boos is up there. Is trouble in turns 3 and 4. Caution flag is back out, and it may be, yes, it is, Vicente Salas.
Such a shame for Vicente Salas. We talked to him earlier, having maybe a better than expected run, and now just 4 to go, being involved in this caution. But it's only getting crazier. It starts at the front of the field, and all of that kind of domino effects through the whole entire field. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now, Blake.
And you talk about the pendulum back and forth with what's going on here. It all starts there. Mullis and Ray, I don't know how they don't wreck there. White goes low on Colin Bowden. They're 4 wide. White gets the worst end of it. This is where it all started. And then back up here to turn 3, Salas is all by himself. And I think Joey Brown's going to have a huge... Oh, he just went to the middle, and Conti also tried to go to the middle. And oh, there's no, that's not Zielinski. I think that's Daniel Falkingham. Yeah, that's Falkingham.
Yeah, similar paint schemes there, but tough night for half of.
I was about to say tough luck for Camille there.
Yeah, no, we can't forget about our picks. I'm still liking the 95, but I was talking about the 95 of Casey Kerwin. Remember, leading the race. And there's a very huge risk-reward factor here. I know you want the checkered flag, but throwing those blocks, it puts you in a position to lose ground. It puts you in a position to almost get run over from behind. Is it worth throwing those blocks for the to maintain the lead temporarily if it puts you at risk for going to the back of the field or even getting wrecked? These are the questions I'm wondering myself. I'm not the one behind the wheel, Blake.
We're going to see it one more time from Zach Novak's vantage point. Remember, he was just in an accident just a couple of laps ago. Still finds himself on the lead lap of this race. It all developed right in front of him, and sometimes when the luck's just not going your way, when it rains, it pours, and unfortunately it has tonight for your former series champion.
He said it. One mistake put him in back, and now it's led to 3 different wrecks that he's been a part of after dominating the early part of this race, showing he could, be the leader and be that car that really controlled this race. A tough end for that 75 car, because it was such a good-looking car, as we can't mention enough here at Talladega, but really a potential race-winning car. But one mistake that puts you behind led to being involved in 3 wrecks, and that's the nature of Talladega.
Alan, was it you that said earlier it would be really unfortunate to run out of gas here at Talladega?
I did, because that's a long way around if you run out early.
Well, guess what? Your leaders right now, Malik Ray, he's clutching. Derek Bordeaux is shutting the motor off, trying to save fuel. We talked about when that first caution flag fell at just under 40 laps to go. This is kind of where it's going to get into interesting territory depending on how far we go into overtime.
Not what we expected, especially with some of these cautions. Let's talk with Michael Guest. Michael, first and foremost, we just heard that some drivers are shutting it off, some drivers are clutching. Do you have any fuel issues as we get toward the end of this race? Hey, Michael Guest, can you hear us?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully we can make it. There's been a lot of cautions. As long as we don't have 3 green, white checkers, I think we're okay. But if we have 3, it might be a little close.
So many of these races come down to who your friends are. I don't see Keegan anywhere, your teammate in the 23. I don't see him anywhere near the leaderboard, near where you are right now. How does this play out in terms of who your friends are? Can you pick anybody right now?
Yeah, I mean, I always work with Colin and Malik up here on Superspeedway, so hopefully we can get together and win this, but it's real hard with this package. This has been one of the most crazy races I've been in as far as the Superspeedway goes. There's been no downtime and full focus, and somehow we haven't crashed yet.
Hey, not yet. Let's focus on the front, and good luck the rest of the way sitting there in 4th. It'd be fun to see that 45 in victory lane at Talladega. Michael Guest, thank you for joining us. Blake, not too worried, but some drivers evidently are. Maybe planning, thinking ahead, not for the checkered flag, but for potential overtimes. Maybe that's what they're thinking about right now, Blake.
I think that's what you got to do, especially with the fact that, again, this is Talladega, so if there's one track, we've seen a lot of overtime finishes in recent eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series history, at least as long as I've been calling races with Evan. We've seen a bunch of them, and Talladega, I think, is good of a chance as any to not just have overtime, but to have 3 attempts, potentially, at overtime. And speaking of overtime, this is how eNASCAR overtime will work, since this will be the first of a potential 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. We will try to go at least 1 lap. We'll have 3 attempts to finish under green, and if the white flag is taken, we will see it through to the end. So no caution can come out after we have reached the white flag. One of the, I guess, benefits of being in iRacing is that if you're full throttle in the last lap and you see a crash in front of you, well, you can just close your eyes and hope it works out. No safety issues here, so we will see it through to the end if we get back to the white flag. And of course, just like the NASCAR Cup Series, if we have a caution on that first lap, we will rack them up and try it once again.
Just setting the stage with 3 to go. I mean, I'm thinking Malik Ray has been there much of the night. Colin Keister started this race on the pole. Casey Kerwin down to 7th, maybe the worst he's run all night. And then I was looking at Nick Novak. He's no longer a player in this race. We were talking about Michael Conti, and he said he was going to go full send mode. I don't see him up front, but what can he do in 2 laps or when we take the green or potential overtimes? Still a lot of questions to be answered in just a few laps. Michael Cozy was just going for the lead, and now he's down about 15th or so. So anything can happen. So things can happen so quickly here is what we're seeing tonight.
And the opportunity is wide open. Still 36 cars run on the lead lap here at Talladega. Overtime attempt number 1 with Malik Ray and Colin Keister, your top 2 runners. We are back underway here in the Biggie Bag 500. Do we get back to the white, or will we try it once again?
Immediately 3 wide, trying to get a jump on the field. Malik Ray controlling it down there on the inside, but we've seen the outside maybe be the safest spot. 4 wide. Again, this is with 2 laps to go, Blake.
4 wide further back in the pack. The one car that has no help is Bobby Zielinski. The momentum and organization right now on the top lane as they're beating and banging in the back of the field. Graham Bolin has a run. Casey Kerwin goes with him. Malik Ray and Derek Bordeaux side by side with Graham Bolin and Casey Kerwin, your top 5.
A lot of experience down on that bottom line, but the top has proven to be the better spot throughout this race. But as we come to 1 to go, what can those 2 cars? We've seen 2 cars be a rocket ship.
They are wrecking across the stripe, but we reach the white flag first. 1 more lap to go here at Talladega. Malik Ray, Derek Bordeaux, and Caden Honeycutt. Right now, your top 3 runners. Honeycutt goes low to block. They're 3 wide for second. Yes, looking to make it 4. Down the Alabama gang super stretch for the final time. Here comes Colin Keister down to the bottom. He was your pole sitter. Does he have enough? Through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Michael Guest close in tow, but Malik Ray has the run up top. Down towards the tri-oval for the final time. Bordeaux goes to the outside. Bolin looking for a way around. They crash behind Malik Ray. Will anybody else have a run? And Casey Kerwin wins it by 34 one-thousandths of a second as he just robs Malik Ray of his first eNASCAR win.
What a finish, Blake. Where did he come from?
I don't know. I was so ready to call Malik Ray to the line for the first time. He immediately exited the server after this finish, and we're going to see how it happened one more time. Look at the run from Graham Bolin and Casey Kerwin, who, by the way, they're back here in 6th and 7th.
Wow. Just looking for a little draft, sitting there in 5th as we come off turn 4. And Blake, we haven't talked about it all night, but Talladega has that extra 1,000 feet through the tri-oval.
Oh, Bowden almost won. He had a push from Tinsley, and Kerwin was not in a good spot there. He didn't have any help. He didn't have anybody pushing him. He just relied on everybody in front of him to do the job for him, and that will provide us our Coca-Cola winning moment of the race as Casey Kerwin, for only the 4th time in his career, will go to victory lane. Kerwin burns it down on the front stretch here, and we will take a look back at the Coca-Cola move of the race. I think we already saw it once, and you know, I have a visual right now in Alan Cabana. He is jumping around his studio right now that has picked Casey Kerwin won this race, but this is the Coca-Cola move of the race. This is how he did it.
You said it, Blake. I mean, sitting there, 7th, following Graham Bolin, going into 3. This is the final lap. Just looking for real estate, looking for opportunity. Even coming off turn 4, sitting at 6th place?
It had to have been that as they go in the tri-oval, and he's just praying that they all crash in front of him. He gets the run on Malik Ray, and again, he blocked a massive run to the high side at the perfect time. He wins, and by the way, Colin Bowden, who nearly won last year in the same fashion, brings it home in 3rd.
What a race. I think back to, what was it, Daytona, where Casey Kerwin nearly won and came within feet of getting the victory before the incident, and probably should have won that race, and now he gets a little redemption here, getting the checkered flag at Talladega. What a cool finish.
That it was. Is Casey Kerwin your victor tonight? Alan, I got to give you a chance to talk with your pick here.
Yeah, Casey Kerwin gets the win. How do you describe that last, quarter lap? Because you were in about 7th place going into turns 3 and 4, and you end up the winner. How did it happen?
Yeah, it was just, we got a real big run. I was pushing Graham there. And we got a real big run, and once he kind of got up to, I think it was Colin and Malik there, we got separated. And I literally said, heading into the trial, I was like, well, only chance we got is if they wreck. And lo and behold, they started wrecking, and just worked out where I had the run on Malik. And I don't think I was gonna beat him to the line. It would have been really close. And I just checked up in the mirror real quick, and I saw Bowden coming, and I just turned hard right and prayed. I kept going straight, and we got the shot of a lifetime from him there, and yeah, we crossed the line first. It's crazy. I feel like I've been in up front and had a shot to win these plate races now for I don't know, the past 4 or 5 of them, I feel like. So yeah, it feels really good to finally win one. It's something that I've come to really enjoy and try and work to get better at, and I think it's been showing with putting ourselves in the right place at the end, and yeah, finally worked out.
We saw you on camera. Was that the check mark you were doing? You checked a super speedway win off the list?
And you know, win to try and get into the playoffs. You know, I had to wait pretty late in the year last year. You know, 2021, we were high in points and never got one, so didn't make the playoffs. So to get it, you know, race 6 or whatever, yeah, takes the stress of doing that out, but obviously we still got to run well enough to stay top 20. I don't know. We should be in a pretty good spot on points right now, but yeah, just got to keep the good runs going, and yeah, try and make sure we make it in the playoffs.
And just finally, the fixed setup aspect of this race, how did that change the game, or how did that affect the racing?
Yeah, I felt like we talked earlier, actually, and I was saying how I felt like sometimes with the fix set, with it being a little bit more draggy, you know, we don't trim them out like we do in open. Can either make it where it's really hard to build a run, or make it where runs just form like crazy. And as I think everyone could see, runs were forming like crazy. So yeah, it was a crazy race, just runs coming everywhere. And like I said, it just kind of got lucky with how it worked out and was able to get the run at the right time. But yeah, before I go, thanks to XSET. We're back at Victory Lane with them. Thanks to my spotter Gonzo. He go rewatch the Twitch stream. All right, he was just yelling all night, calling great calls, helped me there at the end to get the win. And thanks to everyone at Dead Zone. Obviously, this was a fixed setup race. The one time we're not on a Dead Zone setup, we win. But yeah, just thanks to Houston and Dustin and Jarrett Liebert, especially with the road course last week, all of them that help on the setup stuff every week. And yeah, I don't think I forgot anyone this time. So.
Well, congratulations. I know you can't see it, but my background, I have changed it to XSET 95 red, just in honor of the Talladega victory. So go celebrate.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Casey Kerwin gets the win at Talladega. An exciting one, Blake, to put it mildly. Let's talk with second place. Sometimes second, Malik, is the worst spot to finish. How are you feeling about the end of that race and how it played out at Talladega?
It went about as expected. I don't really know how to win one of these. I always lead the white flag, but I don't really know what to do as far as the white flag scenario. So they wrecked out of the tri-oval. I didn't think that Casey was gonna have enough speed to get to me, and then all of a sudden he got shot like right before the line, and yeah, that's pretty much how that ended up.
2 second place finishes, Daytona and Talladega. As a competitor, as someone who wants to get better, strives to get better, what do you do to improve for the next time? How do you go back and look at this?
Not really sure, man. I mean, I haven't finished second twice now.
I hear you. Well, Malik, close. You're getting there, and the wins are coming. So, congratulations on a good run, albeit not the win, but keep it going.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Next up, the man with the mullet, Colin Bowden. Colin, you were close.
Yeah.
How do you describe the end of that race and that final 1,000 feet? Got to see you on camera.
Hold on. Should have me there. You got me?
I mean, the still image of the mullet ain't bad, all things considered.
Yeah, we can hear you. There you go. Texas Terry Labonte there, loving it. The end of that race, you were a player early on in the race, and then that final lap. How do you describe coming out of, going into 3 and 4 and then crossing the finish line?
Man, it was just, I was so frustrated with myself being back there in like the 30s. I take a lot of pride in restrictor plate racing. I feel like it's more than just luck, and I feel like I'm one of the better ones on this game at it. And it was just, we were back there in 30th with like 20 to go, and I was just had no idea why we were back there. I mean, we just, like, so many people were making dumb blocks. Like Novak, I know he had that Earnhardt scheme on, but man, well, he was all over the place, and that's cost us to get back to 30th. And then I have no idea how we just got back to front. We just kept the eRacer Chevrolet Fantasy car, just try to keep going forward. The thing with this package is you just want to be coming forward at the white flag with forward momentum. I don't know where to be, is a good place to be. I can't forget the Coke hat here. I just don't know where's a good place to be, coming to the checkered flag. I think you want to be 6th to 10th, which is where we were. And then they just got all disjointed up there through the tri-oval. And Wyatt Tinsley, he pushed me really good right there. He said he was going to work with me, and he stayed with me. And then Casey just made a good move right there at the finish line. And I don't know if we had a time to win if he doesn't make that move. But we finally finished a race. Our best finish was 31st all year. So, hey, we got a third. We're trending up. And the keyboard warriors, they can beat the buttons this week. We didn't get a win, but we tried, man. We had a good effort at it.
Hey, and you defeated the squirrels that you were back there racing with. That's what you always say. So you were able to do it. Congratulations on a good run.
Squirrel back there. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you, eRacer and Parker, Landon, Josh, and everybody back at the shop.
Colin Bowden with a great finish tonight, finishing third. Casey Kerwin, Malik Ray, Colin Bowden in a top 3, Blake, that I don't think any of us would have bet on coming to the white flag.
No, certainly not. And this is one thing we got to do here at Talladega is look through our eNASCAR Coca-Cola finishing results. With everything that changed there on the last lap, you can see Keister, Tinsley is mentioned, rounding out the top 5. You have a couple more. How about Dylan Duvall? And wrapped up in that earlier incident, finishes in P8, a good rebound effort for that 41 car.
Yep, Jordi Lopez, Michael Conti able to get back up to 12th after being a player, but no one wanting to work with him. Garrett Maines in 13th. Tyler Gary, one of those drivers that we were talking about during the race, but he comes home 15th. Nick Ottinger led at one point during the race, comes home 17th. Garrett Lowe rounding out the top 20.
And further back, we kind of get into some cars. We talked about an incident that happened as cars took the white flag. You can kind of see some drivers that were wrapped up in that one as we continue to work down through the order. You see Derek Justice, Vicente Salas, a couple of drivers that finished a little bit off the mark, and then some drivers that were damaged pretty significantly in that wreck. Ryan Luza, Alt, Mullis, a couple of noted, and of course Novak, Falkingham, and Doucette, the three drivers that did not make their way back to the lead lap. But Alan, I think it's pretty fitting. We didn't have Evan this week, but guess what? He gets to make his return at his home track.
Yeah, well, lucky us. He picked the right week to travel and do some wonderful things because we got to call a great race. But Evan, it'll be good for him to call a home race. It'll be fun for him.
And certainly will. Again, that race will be right here at eNASCAR.com/live on Twitch and all the other places May 2nd in 2 weeks' time here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedways. We want to thank you for watching our Flag to Flag coverage of the Biggie Bag 500 presented by Wendy's tonight. We bid you farewell from Talladega and congratulations to tonight's winner, Casey Kerwin, who goes to victory lane yet again.